Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice FM. Spice up your life.
Rain showers in most of Nairobi this Easter Monday. 17 degrees. It's going to go to highs of 23 today. We'll also see highs of 23 in Nyeri, 16 and raining this morning. Clear conditions in Nakuru at 15, highs of 24. 25 the high in Eldoret. It's mostly cloudy at 13. We'll see highs of 28 in Kisumu today. Rain showers this morning at 21. Mostly cloudy in Kakamega at 18. It'll go to highs of 27 and lows of 16. It's raining in Mombasa at 26. We'll see highs of 32 and lows of 25. 27 will be the low in Malindi, which is what it is right now, and experiencing rain showers. Going to highs of 32. It's mostly clear in Kampala at 21, highs of 26 and lows of 20. Dar es Salaam is experiencing light rain this morning as well at 24, highs of 31 and lows of 24. We're going to see highs of 26 in Johannesburg. It's clear at 16. Partly cloudy conditions in Lagos at 28, highs of 33 and lows of 27. Mostly clear skies in Kinshasa at 25, highs of 32 and lows of 24. It's sunny in Beijing out at 17, highs of 19 and lows of 6. Paris is clear at 4 with highs of 9 and lows of -1. Really cloudy in London today at 6 degrees, highs of 12 and lows of 6, and clear skies in New York. It's still Sunday night. Coming into Monday, we'll see highs of 18 and lows of 8.
All right, 20 minutes after 6. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. CT, today's proverb.
No tree produces fruits before producing flowers.
No tree produces fruits before producing flowers. Okay. Okay. Sour.
You can't jump the process. Okay.
Well, unless you're going to tell me you know of a tree that actually produces fruits and doesn't flower.
Maybe there are some, but we don't know. Haven't been discovered yet. Let's look at the headlines.
Okay. Who will be the next CJ? We shine spotlight on the contenders, and that's what's happening this morning in the Standard. We'll look at the details of that in a bit. But what's interesting, at the very top there, medics take on government over private vaccine imports ban. All right. So we saw the CS Ministry of Health on Friday giving this information about the ban, and there are very many reasons given as to why. So number one, a lot of private companies may be bringing in a vaccine, and then there would be the threat of fake vaccines, and they would not be able to control it. What government knows for sure is that the AstraZeneca vaccine that they have received is safe, and that is what they're giving to everybody in phases, but they're giving it all the same. So now there is the threat of fake vaccines coming to the country. There is the threat of people having to pay a lot of money for something that it could not even be a vaccine. There is if, buts, and maybe. So guess what we're going to do? Everything that is not government sanctioned, that is not government administered, there's a ban on it. If you have received the vaccine that is comes from a private firm, whether it's Sputnik or whatever else that you have received, the government will take care of you for your second dose and such. Though there is the understanding that if you start with one batch, you must get the second one from the same manufacturer, from the same, or even if it's a subsequent batch, but must be from the same manufacturer. So questions as to how they're going to actually handle that is still kind of muddy. But is a ban complete on imports apart from what the government has sanctioned. Now, the ban on this importation by the government has might threaten efforts to to attain herd immunity against the coronavirus. This is as cases of hospitalization and fatality in the country rise. According to the KMA, which is the Kenya Medical Association, they want the Ministry of Health to stick to phase 1 of vaccination and accelerate to phase 2, saying the vaccination program is being conducted in a haphazard manner.
Right.
Vaccines are our last hope in controlling the COVID-19 pandemic, and we are troubled that the high markups for retailers might lock out millions of people from accessing the vaccines. And this is according to President Were Onyinyo. Public Health Society of Kenya Chair Teresa Kenyari said the vaccination program might also be slowed because there is also high demand with a shortage of supply of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine through the COVAX facility. A ban on the importation of the vaccine will slow the vaccination program. So a ban on the private imports, right, will slow the vaccination program.
This is according to this association?
According to the KMA, yes.
No, Public Health Society.
According to the Public Health Society, right? The president, rather,
the chair.
Yes, the chair.
And the logic behind this statement is what exactly?
Just a moment. She says, we might not reach the target population to break the chain and severity of the infection. So with what the government is offering now through the Oxford AstraZeneca, it's slow. And the uptake has been low in the very beginning, and we're running out already.
Right.
So if you don't allow more to come in, we will not be able to then reach herd immunity, and that first line of defense would be compromised, according to what they're saying. So now what you do is that you ban all the private imports, you slow down the uptake of vaccinations in the country, you don't achieve herd immunity, and you, on the other hand, are not increasing the amount of vaccines that you have available for people to go and get them. So in as much as it could be in some areas where people are looking at it like a political, commercial issue only, they're looking at it as purely medical. You ban the importation of this.
Yep.
You're not allowing us to achieve herd immunity, which is what we want to do by getting this vaccination.
There's something peculiar about the headline of this story. Even from the top, the medics take on government over private import ban. And then vaccine import ban could hurt immunity effort.
It's two different things.
No, it's the same thing. But if you look at what the Kenya Medical Association is basically saying in this story through their president, he's saying, look, let's stick to the public one. Let's stick to AstraZeneca. He says, if you want to allow the private commercialization of Sputnik, it puts this whole thing into jeopardy. Vaccines to be imported should be those shown to be effective against the local strains of COVID-19 virus in the country. He says any vaccine that comes into the country should be approved by WHO, meet the global safety standards. They should also be affordable, free from profiteering, and guarantee expected dosage. Basically, he is saying, the Kenya Medical Association is saying, let's not commercialize this thing. The Public Health Society of Kenya is saying, let's commercialize this thing. But the headline seems to be taking one side. It's a big debate here. Why is it that the government would so soon allow the importation of this commercial vaccine? There are people who have actually, I've heard that they've paid 20,000 shillings for the Sputnik 5.
Right.
20 Gs.
I think that's...
And then people will say, in a free market, that's what we should allow to happen. People who can afford to pay 20,000 and they get the vaccine, let them get the vaccine.
That makes sense. But remember, one of the reasons the government gave for banning the Sputnik 5 said it hadn't been authorized by WHO. That is a sound enough reason. Okay. However, there's something that I think must also be considered here. We can't run away from the commercial element in the production of vaccines. The only reason the AstraZeneca vaccine is popular is, one, the way in which they put together the manufacturing of it. Government participation, reduction to the point of elimination of any profit margin, etc., etc., etc. Okay? Now, even as they talk about the issue of whether the government should allow these things in or not, before this discussion took place, we had the AstraZeneca vaccine in this country, and the uptake was at best very slow. We have vaccinated 100,000 plus, a little bit more.
Now we are actually 200,000.
Yes.
We've hit the 200K mark.
But But over what period of time?
The 3 weeks or so.
Yes. Now, if we were at 400, or had we been at 400 within the first 3 weeks, I would have understood this argument perfectly. Because we would be saying that, folks, you know something? The uptake is so high. If we look at this space, we are going to run out by this time and we'll need. But right now, yes, you're opening it up for people who can afford it. Essentially, it's not so much affording it. People who don't want to queue and people who can book an appointment and get it. Now,
And
you know
people
what?
who have
Yes.
resources. To
But
get
you see, one thing that isn't being said about what the government is doing, the initiative that you hear in private hospitals, it's a government initiative. Those vaccinations, like you go to Nairobi hospital, it's free.
It is AstraZeneca.
Yes, and it is free.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, whether these other vaccines that are being talked about will actually do what, well, they purport to do. Like, let's take an instance, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. That vaccine has run against headwinds, and they've had to withdraw.
In some countries?
Yes. Because certain batches had issues. Now, when you say this, it sounds like, oh, they didn't know what they're doing. No, they do know what they're doing. This is what happens in this particular field. And that they are the one talking about it tells you that they are doing due diligence, and they have realized that it is sometimes, the moment there's an issue of doubt, withdraw those batches. Okay? Remember, we had said that the ups and downs of these vaccines will be there for the longest time.
Yeah.
Pfizer claim that theirs has better potency, more efficacious. But the truth is, from their findings, it's in young people. It works very well with young people. That is the way these things work. Before we get to a point where you can universally say, you know, these vaccines more or less do the same thing. And if you have issues, it has to do with pre-existing conditions, blah, blah, blah.
The bottom line, CT, at this point in our country, should the government be allowing the importation of these private
I'm saying no.
They shouldn't.
I'm saying no.
And
They
for
shouldn't.
what reason?
The reason is this. Who are they importing it for?
Citizens of the Republic of Kenya.
Who feel they can afford it?
Yeah. Or residents of in the Republic of Kenya.
The only way the government would allow this is if we were also being informed that the vaccines that the government is allowing into the country have followed all these procedures that other vaccines follow, and they've met that criteria, and we're told which one they are.
Okay.
And we're even told who is importing them.
So, forget Sputnik 5.
No,
There's a whole global shenanigan about... What if a private entity wanted to import AstraZeneca and they had access to AstraZeneca and they want to bring in AstraZeneca? And it's just going to be cheap. You know, instead of getting it for free, you can come to this particular facility and only pay 1,500.
But it meets the criteria I set out. Then by all means import it. By all means import it. I am only saying that all the other vaccines other than AstraZeneca, let them be imported. However, the stringent conditions that is required must be met. And then we must also know who is importing it. You know why? If the government imports it and there's a problem, we know who to go to. If a private XYZ imports and we don't know who they are, the moment they sell it to you, you know them, they've lifted their hands.
As is usually the
That
case.
story, they don't want to know, they're not concerned.
I think what you're looking at now is issues of accountability and making sure that people are safe.
There's too much
Because
at
what are you
stake
gonna-
with this
there's
vaccine.
unfortunately too
And
much.
that's what I don't think we should have any private importation
At
or private
all.
rollout of this vaccine.
I don't think so.
Because emergency use. You want to make sure that everything, just like you keep saying, CT, somebody who receives this jab, there's a follow-up. There's knowing that these are the likely side effects. There's detecting when there's any emergence of a side effect.
Yes.
So if it's government, it's centralized, it's controlled. If it's private, somebody took AstraZeneca, somebody else took Sputnik, someone else took Johnson.
Somebody even mixed them up.
Yeah, someone don't even know what they took. They took some saline solution, and then they go to hospital and say, I took a vaccine. Which one? I went to that facility.
And they told me it's for COVID.
Yeah.
So,
you see, we will lose. If things start going wrong, you will not know how exactly to trace back. Traceability is important.
I agree.
And if we don't have proper traceability systems in place, knowing this country of ours, let's just have one person that we can go back to. 28 minutes to 7. Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. It's about time now that we took a break and see what's happening on the roads this Monday morning. It's a public holiday. And as we do that, let's remind you about Standard Jobs. This is a portal by the Standard Media Group. Jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. That's jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. This particular portal that's been set up by the Standard Group, where jobs are listed, you can get career advice here. You can actually go in and register, and you'll be getting personalized newsletters via email or SMS alerts on any job that you're looking for. Good morning.
Spice FM, Malindi. Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year, how much inconvenience they're causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko anaenda huku na huku.
Traffic.
Of which there really isn't much of any of that this morning. The rain seems to have kept everybody indoors. Not much traffic on the roads this Easter Monday. We're going to have to take a look and see what it's like when the sun does come up and it dries out just a little bit. But for now, it looks like most roads are having a good time. They are slippery though, so if you should come out, if you are on the roads, you want to take it easy so we don't have any accidents that are avoidable. All right, let's look at Mombasa Road coming up. We will see some slowed down action as the construction does continue, holiday or not. But coming off Thika Road into the CBD, outbound, not an issue at all. Other parts of the country we'll take a look at as well in Mombasa, Nakuru, out west into Kisumu. For now, talk to us in case you need to. Something goes wrong, let us know. SpiceFM KE on Twitter or text on 40127.
All right, so I can see that people who are already online and they want to say hello to us. Let's say hello to them.
Oh, let's do that. Joseph Hightower, interesting name. Tuned in as usual. Nduoko City Muga, Eric Latif, Situation Room. Asante Sana, good morning. Victor says, good morning. Good to see you back. Kangunda Road, Tuko 2. Okay. Dorcas Kamother, for second day running. Wow. Happy Easter Monday, Christmas again, guys. Malindi kuna light showers. Finally, Ndu and the weather this morning. Okay. It's cool and breezy. Happy to hear that.
Jose, showers finally in Malindi.
Finally in Malindi, things are cooling down.
Alrighty.
Jose Mainan Dohio says, good morning, guys. The loan from the IMF itapata matumizi mengine muhimu.
Yeah. Si matumizi yote ni matumizi tu.
Yote ni muhimu.
Yote ni muhimu.
Okay, so Selena Uko is tuned in this morning as his Haran Stacker says, good morning, guys. Happy Easter to you too. Bade Ashley tuned in from Machakos. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. Headlines. So, that one on the next CJ, shining the spotlight. So, what the Standard Group has decided to do, the Standard newspaper has decided to do, is to profile the main candidates, these 10 candidates who've been shortlisted for position of Chief Justice of the Republic. Today, the focus is on 2 judges, and this is on page 10 of the Standard. Justice Martha Koome of the Court of Appeal, who is seeking to become the first female Chief Justice in Kenya as the battle to succeed Justice David Maraga enters the home stretch. Justice Koome is a well-known face in the civil society movement before being appointed a High Court judge in 2003, a feat that she has continued in defense of human rights and which saw her win an international award last year for advocating children's rights. Yeah, remember Martha Koome, when she joined the judiciary, she also went to the Children and Family Court, and she was she basically came up with some serious rulings that have set precedent. Then now she is in the Court of Appeal since 2012. She's one of the 3 women who are in the running for Chief Justice. The other 2 women are, I've written their names down somewhere. Professor Kameri Mbote, Justice Martha Koome, and Alice Yano. So there are 3 women in the running for this particular one. They have also been shortlisted, those 3, for position of judge of the Supreme Court. The other person who's been highlighted and profiled today is Justice Chitembwe. So Justice Said Juma Chitembwe will be the first to be interviewed by the JSC for the position of Chief Justice and Judge of the Supreme Court. For a judge known for some controversial judgments, his date with the JSC commissioners will determine if he is suitable to take over the mantle from Justice David Maraga. The 54-year-old stirred controversy in 2016 when he set a man serving a 20-year jail term for defiling a 13-year-old girl free on grounds that it was wrong to hand the man the heavy punishment when both were enjoying the relationship.
This is where I can only express in Kiswahili. Alijaribu. What? A 13-year-old?
He is noted that the country should think of a way of changing the legal age in which a girl should be mature for sex to avoid jailing even those who have consensual intercourse with girls below 18. Remember, this is a conversation that he's the one who started it and said, can we look at lowering this age of consent and also look at how we treat, this mandatory minimum sentence. Because in the law, the Sexual Offences Act, there's a mandatory minimum sentence that says it doesn't matter as long as you committed this particular offense, there's a mandatory minimum. It doesn't matter what role you played. If you have been here and you've been found guilty, it doesn't matter whether you're playing a peripheral role or whether you're playing
standing by watching.
Yes, it doesn't matter whether you're passing by, and it doesn't matter. So he is the one who started raising this particular issue and saying also, look, there are some people who will have sex. If it's an 18-year-old having sex with a 16-year-old, this is an adult having sex with a child. By law. Should it be considered that way? He's the one who raised that. I think this is
because
it was a good argument and
the
good
argument,
debate to raise.
The argument from a legal perspective makes a lot of sense. Justice Odongo also weighed in on these same issues and had views that were similar to his. He said, folks, okay, this is the law, yes, but we really need to look at this thing again. Remember, we even had a young man call us in. He had spent, was it 10 years in jail?
5.
4, actually, it was 4.
4.
Yes. 4. Yeah.
He had gone there as a child and now
came out as an adult.
Yes. And for what? But the case that I found particularly interesting, remember there was a woman who was having an affair with a 17-year-old.
Yes.
She's in jail now.
Yes.
She was in jail for 10 years. And according to her, just the details of that story, they were in a consensual relationship. And when she said if you were to see him, you would never believe that he was 17 years old.
She did not know that this guy
he was 17.
He's underage.
He looked mature. He had filled out well. You would have never known he was 17 years old.
It's like asking someone, when you have a relationship, do you have someone to give you the ID?
You don't.
No, you don't really get into those details, do you? No.
Well,
and this is one of the defenses that she was giving in court, because I followed that case very, very, very keenly. And one of the defenses that she did give was that, you know what, we were in a relationship. Yes, I was a teacher in the school, but even after school, even after classes or whenever she would see this, he had a job. He rode a motorbike. He was in business, so there was never any reason as to that he would be underage. The way in which they were able to hold conversations, nobody would have even been able to guess. So I think there is merit in that argument. That, here you say a boy who's 18 years old, the story that he did call in and tell us about, they were in a consensual relationship. As far as he's concerned, he didn't do anything wrong.
Actually, legally,
but the law, according to the law, he did. But from his point of view, he was in a relationship with a girl that he loved. 2 kids in a consensual relationship.
The thing is, who was punished?
It is only the boy.
The boy was punished. Yes. The boy was the only one who was punished.
That one was a bit crazy.
And he was put through this system that actually now punished him.
Essentially,
For life.
he was being treated as an adult.
Yeah.
Has that law actually been looked into?
This is one, I think Odunga is still quite on it. There has been, in October last year, he then gave another ruling on a particular case whereby he said that because this individual did not know what was going on, he then was going to reduce the sentence significantly because he was not aware. Truly, they looked at the merits of the case.
Yep.
And because this individual was not aware,
He was not a
truly,
principal
the
actor.
age of this child, of this girl, then he would reduce the sentence. And then went on to say, we understand that we are bound by law. But he now gave that it was about time we really looked at this law, because you have many young boys especially who are going through the cracks because of this thing. Now, can we look at that when it comes to the specific age of boys who may be caught up in these cases? Because they usually, almost always, they get the short end of the stick. And I'm likely to agree with that. In rape, it's rape. Let's not even argue there. In rape, it's rape. But you look at these relationships where it's, maybe we say it's puppy love and then goes into something a little bit more serious. According to the law, you're in trouble, man. But
in this ruling of his, Justice Chichembo gave examples of Spain, where he said the age of consent for sexual intercourse used to be 13, while marriageable age for a girl is 16. Countries like Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Switzerland, and the Czech Republic, Germany, UK, and Hungary, where a girl or a boy can get married at the age of 16. He says, let's review this thing. A decision that attracted international attention from women rights organizations. He was awarded the Women Link Worldwide Golden Bludgeon as the world's worst ruling for women's rights in 2016. He was bludgeoned. Worst ruling 2016. So he stands out. When he comes before the JSC, expect that this is going to feature.
it's going to come up. It's
And it's
probably
going to be,
number
and
one.
let's hear what he says, because I'm sure he'll have good grounds in which he'll be arguing about this. So the interviews for the JSC.
Just
from the
quickly,
Chief
he also said something very interesting. He said that, off the cuff, but he said, you know what? A lot of these, unfortunately, women who come at me with these sentiments, if it was their children, an 18-year-old son that they have in this position, you would find that the argument would be completely different.
He's right.
He's right. He's right.
He's right. If it was their child, who is 18, who just has been taken to court because they had sex with a 17-year-old,
Argument would be different.
my friend. It's 7:15. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Time for another break, and then we shall come back and look at more headlines.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 7:15. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. What headline are you looking at, City?
Well, I am looking at two. One we're going to look at later when we talk about the U.S.-Kenya trade talks. But what I was looking at, not for, Kenya asks Kenyan, state actually, it's me worded to Kenya, to stop Kenya Power debt pursuit. Remember yes.
Forgive them.
Well, why don't I just read what they're saying, right? You know, the amount we're talking about is 23.9 billion.
Yes.
The government has asked Kenyan and other suppliers of Kenya Power not to enforce collection of billions of shillings they are owed by the electricity distributor, exposing them to cash flow problems and possible potential losses.
Yeah.
All right. The move comes after the utility firm defaulted on the suppliers as its finances deteriorated further, culminating in a net loss of 939.4 million in the year that ended June 2020.
Can I ask you, is it only the pursuit of this loan that is going to expose the cash flow problems of...
Not only, but this is one that's going to. I mean,
will
it's clear.
expose-
29 billion, my friend.
But it is obvious that they have problems. We've been seeing it every day.
Yeah.
It's not this one that's going to expose
So if we
it
just
more.
write it off, at least it helps their books.
You see, it gets more
It
complicated.
gets there because it's in the books as as debt.
Yes, it's not yet
it's
bad
still
debt.
a liability.
Yes.
And in KPLC's books.
And also remember something else about this situation. KenGen has only one customer. It's called Kenya Power.
Yes.
So you can't tell KenGen, okay, reduce the supply to Kenya Power, give Eric power, and do power, and CT power as electricity. No,
No.
just one. So if that is your main source of revenue and the default, then it means you're
going
are
down
in
also.
deep noise.
Yes.
Yes.
However, as all these things are happening, KenGen has been reporting profit.
Yes, they
So
have.
it's possible for KenGen to forego this money. Me, I'm supporting this whole move by the government.
Using which logic exactly, Eric?
The logic is this: it's simple. So
Making
yes,
money anyway.
this entity called Kenya Power owes you 29 billion shillings.
Okay.
But did you die?
And are you going to die?
Are you going to die? See, they're still buying your power. So let's do this, Just write off that debt.
You know, buying would mean
Write
that
off
they
that
pay
debt.
you.
Find something of saying that you are not going to recover this debt,
What's
or
to
even
guarantee that you
restructure.
write off that debt and then you start afresh and then they'll
Restructure.
start paying?
But then when they start paying, they'll pay. Okay, just let's move on. You need a customer. If this guy collapses, you have no customer. You only have one customer. He collapses, you have no customer. So what do? Do the logical thing. All right. So you have a problem. Okay. So during that whole period when you were making losses, I was making a profit because I was selling you power and I was making a profit. I'm still able to operate. I'm still able to supply you power. Okay? I will continue supplying you power. So from this point on, just pay me for today. Forget about
yesterday.
Just pay me for today going forward.
Do they have the money to pay for today?
No,
They have
don't.
the money to pay for today. They're raising money. The only thing here is
But they've been raising money every day.
yes,
Before
Eric,
that.
no,
but they have been. You're raising money, but you are so much in debt. It doesn't mean that you don't have cash. You actually have cash.
But you don't have to pay this one.
But it's a debt that you have. So if you write off that debt, if you owed your landlord for the last 6 months and you've not been able to pay, you've not been able to clear that, he tells you, like, forget about it. Let's move forward. Lifts a weight off your shoulder.
It does, but you see, there's something interesting about Kenya Power and KenGen. The majority shareholders in both these firms is the government.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
So instead of asking KenGen to do what you're asking, why doesn't the government just help Kenya Power? The way they want to help
Kenya Airways
That's how they're helping.
by saying
You see, instead of us putting in 29 billion shillings,
We're
and
just
we
coming
know
to
that
tell you nicely.
Yeah, instead of the government putting 29 billion shillings from other coffers, and then you're still the same shareholder of this other one, it's basically saying, I own these two companies.
write off the debt.
Yes. Increase their liquidity, and also my cash, which is coming from other quarters. Because by the time you're saying government should give Kenya Power 29 billion shillings, it's money that should be doing other things, money that should be feeding people who are hungry.
So essentially, the government has decided to use a very simple tactics. Squeeze these people who you owe money, okay? But that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
After all, and they have the power to do so.
Yeah.
But it's not just KenGen, even other suppliers. They're being told, can we look at different narratives? And those narratives have one thing in common. It involves you not getting paid. Okay?
Yep.
Yes. Can we look into it?
Can we look into it?
I guess if we're talking about solutions,
Uh-huh.
then it clearly offers some solution. But it does offer some solution in the really, really short term. This problem of Kenya Power, the government, I think, understands it's a problem it has created with its taxation. The government knows.
It knows.
It knows. So much as we blame Kenya Power, and we should,
It's not entirely their fault.
well, if we're to find fault, it wouldn't be entirely theirs. In fact, if I may use a Kenyan terminology, majorly.
Yes.
Majorly,
It is majorly the government.
The government.
The government came in and said, take power to every part of this country. Oh, you don't have money. Use your money. What do you mean you don't have money?
I use Kenya power.
Use money.
We don't have infrastructure.
You
create
build the infrastructure.
We don't have money. Do you have a bank account? Yes.
Go to the
Talk to the bank.
So now
then
here
we
they
get
are.
in trouble. We say, okay, write off the debt. Let's move on.
Simple.
Now, there was a very interesting story that came out of the DCI over the weekend. A Kenya Defense Forces officer was on Saturday night killed at their home in Kawendani, Kiambu County, in a domestic dispute with his wife. The 27-year-old suspect is in the incident fatally bit her husband, a private stationed at Gilgil KDF camp, in a violent confrontation. The DCI yesterday said the woman bit off her husband's finger, and then bite marks were also found on the victim's chest and shoulder. Police were called after the man began to convulse at the Kawa Garrison Health Center, where his wife had taken him. So she bit him and then took him to hospital. He was pronounced dead at the facility. The cause of the disagreement was not immediately established, but DCI officers said the two fought at around midnight. The suspect was taken into custody as police arranged for a post-mortem.
This story is weird. It is weird. So there's an altercation. Well, it's appears to be a long-running one.
Yeah.
And then the woman, in a fit of rage decides, or maybe she doesn't decide, it just happens. She bites the man 3 times. Finger, chest, shoulder. Man falls down, man starts convulsing, man dies. Did the woman kill the man?
Well, we would have to find out exactly what the cause of death was. Understand that she did inflict wounds on him by nature of her biting him, but we don't know if that is what caused his death. Now, until and unless...
Because at what point do you actually say that someone, you bite someone, they die? And you're not rabid.
It's one of these cases where I think if there will be further explanation, I'm sure there'll be an autopsy. We'll be able to understand. But it's bizarre.
It's bizarre. It really is bizarre. Is there something that she did that then caused him to convulse? Because convulsion comes as a result of very many factors, right? It could be that you have a condition, we have a condition such as epilepsy that cause you to convulse. If you have there's some kinds of strokes that you would get that would cause you to convulse. High fever would cause you to convulse. Could be caused by very many things. We don't know. It could be having a heart attack out of shock.
You could have pre-existing conditions that you do not know about.
Yep.
This, people assume pre-existing conditions only exist in people who are elderly.
No.
Even young people have pre-existing conditions. I say this because this particular gentleman, the immediate late gentleman, looks young from the pictures that we have seen.
Yep.
But why don't we wait for the autopsy result?
Yeah, it would be able to tell.
The way it's reported, it's weird.
Yeah.
It is weird. And this, as you look
and
at
I can
so
imagine
many
the
things.
trauma that the girl is going through. Because she's the one who actually raised
took
the
him to
alarm. She was like,
hospital,
oh my goodness, what's happened? So she was trying to rush him to hospital. On the way to the hospital, they met with the ambulance that she had already summoned. The ambulance guys, the emergency response people come. They try to resuscitate the man. They say, he's dead. Now, what was funny also in this story is that the ambulance people said, take him back home and then call the police.
Why?
But if the person is already declared dead, what are they taking to the hospital for?
No, but why are you taking him home?
Scene of the crime.
But you've already removed him. If you're looking for evidence, it has been compromised.
Return him.
If you're looking for evidence, it has been compromised. You remove the particular
the
subject
EMS.
from the scene. The EMS is the one telling you to take him back home.
I am speaking completely out of ignorance here. Please understand.
I understand
right?
what you're saying,
Yes.
and I see where you're getting at.
Yes.
You can think that way, that this person, because a police case here, this is going to be a police case.
It is going to be a police case.
So the best thing for you to do is let's take the person back to the scene of crime, call the police, let the police come and deal with these things.
Yes.
However, is it that the EMS person is saying this person was dead by the time I was getting to them?
It's not very clear there. It's not very, very clear.
Is the EMS person shirking responsibility and saying, by the way?
That is also likely because if the person is in the ambulance, they're taken to the hospital, even if you pronounce them dead, you will make a statement.
Yes.
You in the ambulance and you people came to collect him.
Yes.
You will explain.
They've already been moved from where they were. They're in your ambulance.
I think it's...
Because it's like saying because we see this many times, someone has collapsed or something, then they're taken to hospital, they're declared dead on arrival. The hospital doesn't tell you take him back home.
Take him back home? Doesn't matter.
No, they don't. But remember, the reasons why people do the crazy things that they do in this country is really very difficult to tell.
Unless the EMS man or woman did something in that ambulance which they knew they shouldn't have done.
Yes, look, the possibilities here are vast, okay? But if they've already determined this person is dead, all right, believe me, you do not want to be involved in the questioning by the DCI regarding this.
Yeah.
So avoid getting in that position. Say, our role was we were called...
I love this is a military guy.
But it's even worse. Look, it's even worse. Then now they find that you told people to return the body. They'll ask you, why did you return it? Why did you return?
No, that one is easier to deal with. That one is easier to deal with. The thing is, people who man ambulances understand what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But it brings in the other question
cases.
that I want. Do we have these ambulances that we have in this country? Are they adequately equipped to help resuscitate people should they need
those
these sort of emergencies? Or are they just vehicles which ferry you to hospital?
My God, I hope so.
Yeah.
By the way, if you buy an ambulance, it comes with that equipment.
Mm-hmm.
I speak as somebody who has been involved in the purchase of ambulances. It actually comes with that equipment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does.
All.
Everything except the people.
So that means many of the ambulances that we see are equipped.
No. Many of the ambulances we see have ambulance written on them.
And some strobe lights.
Yes, serious strobe lights. That particular irritating sound that they make.
Please, do that again.
Wow. That one. Now, that's what we see. Okay. However, as to whether we have guidelines as to what an ambulance should comprise,
and whether it meets those set guidelines
Yes,
for it to be registered. But
because you're not
you
going
have to register it separately as an ambulance.
Yes, you do.
And therefore it has to be inspected. And just like PSVs and TSVs, these ambulances also have to go for annual inspections.
Eric, let me tell you something. If you buy what is sold as an ambulance, you just buy it, okay? Let me just explain to you. You buy it, and then it's yours, okay? Now, when a hospital buys an ambulance, beyond registering it under their name, the details that we're talking about, I do not know whether there are requirements as to registering it as an ambulance. It's already an ambulance. When you buy it, it is an ambulance.
Look, and when you're in that compromised position, you're not really going to ask, do you have paddles?
For it to operate in this country as an ambulance, and for it to get that clearance to operate as an ambulance, there must be some inspection.
I am certain there must be. But what I'm trying to say is this. For all those things to be there, then there must be a standard.
Yes.
That anything that presents itself as an ambulance must meet. Now, this is what I'm not certain of.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And I'm saying they ought to be. So that when you're told ambulance, you know it comes with this, and this is what can be done.
Oxygen, ikona kitanda, ikona defibrillator, ikona blah, 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 blah.
Yes, yes.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Let's see what's happening on the roads.
Spice up your life. SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Not much on the roads this morning. It's
Traffic.
pretty good. In and outbound on Mombasa Road as you're trying to head into the city. That is all right. In Mombasa, we're being told by the Kenya Ferry Services, 3 ferries this morning serving you and not 4. Remember, star 721 hash is how you can pay your ferry toll charges. Do not go with cash because you will not be allowed through. So 3 ferries serving you this Easter Monday as opposed to the normal 4. But you should be fine in terms of traffic. There's not much in and out of Mombasa and the island. So not an issue there today. In and outbound also on Thika Road is looking pretty good. Remember that a lot of the roads are slippery this morning. Visibility is quite low around Kikuyu area. So if you're headed or coming out of that direction, please be careful. Fog lights up, guys. We want to be as safe as possible. The construction continues on Mombasa Road and it's a bit crazy in some parts where it's no road but sea. Be careful, okay? SpiceFM KE, that's how you can get in touch on Twitter. Anything out of the ordinary, let us know. Stuck somewhere, looking for an easy way out? Text us as well on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
3 minutes after
the
7,
only
this is
way
Kenya's
to
biggest
start your
conversation,
day.
The Situation Room. Hello, and how are you doing? So what do you say now today? Happy Monday, happy Easter Monday, Easter happy Monday.
Happy Easter.
Good Monday. Happy Easter. Okay.
You want to have something to say every day?
Happy Easter then. That from Undu. City, today's proverb.
Right. No tree produces fruits before producing flowers.
No tree produces fruits before producing flowers. Okay. It's for the birds and the bees. Just what's going on with cows in these counties. So there's a funny, bizarre incident taking place in Nyandarua County and some parts of Laikipia, okay? Some particular villages where cows are going blind. Just like that, inexplicably. So this is the case of a farmer, James Gishohi, who has a herd of a number of cows. 3 of them have gone blind. I have 5 Frisian dairy cows on my 5-acre farm. Months ago, I noticed that one of my dairy animals was producing a lot of tears. On close examination, I noticed a red flap of flesh protruding from the eye. I called a veterinary officer who prescribed some drugs for the cow. Months later, he realized the other one had a blue coloration in the middle of the eye. I again noticed that another cow had watery eyes. It later went blind. This is a worrying trend. So this is somebody who has 5 cows, Frisian dairy cows. 2 of them have gone blind within a year. Calls in a vet anakuja anasema paka this, the other, and nothing happens. A neighbor and also a dairy farmer called Paul Mbogo, whose Frisian cow suffered the same fate a year ago, says blindness has affected the quality of his animal's life and is predisposing it to traumatic injuries. The cow is stressed. This has reduced its milk production. This is because when the animal is blind, it can no longer feed. Now, what is bizarre here is that if you go around the neighborhood, you'll find that half the dairy cows are blind. This is according to what Mbogo is saying. And this you find it also in Huhoine village in Laikipia County, where Mercy Wanjira's 2 cows are also blind. She says she had sought help from veterinary officers because her neighbor, she had not sought help from veterinary officer because a neighbor whose cows had gone through the same had called in a vet. Vet came, prescribed some medication, didn't work. So she was like, why am I going to spend money doing the same thing that I've seen? It's not going to work. Forget it.
You know, in humans, if we're talking about blindness occurring to people in a certain part of the country and in large numbers, you would hear ophthalmologists coming up and explaining to you the possibilities that could bring about that outcome. The same applies to cows.
Yes.
There is what they know, whether it is bacteria that is caused by flies, whether it's papillomavirus, whether it's whatever ailments that a cow could possibly get. That is what is the issue. Now, the question is identifying and determining what this is. Because if it's something that is spreading in that area, then it means there's something common in that area that is
localized.
Exactly, it's bringing it about. Whether it's an issue with the dip where these cows go, whatever the case is, it's something that if the expert veterinarians and people who understand this focus, they will know and they will know exactly what to do.
So here is what is the bizarre bit. Nyandarua's Agriculture and Livestock executive James Carito says the county had written to the Nakuru Veterinary Investigation Laboratory requesting them to investigate the cause of the blindness in cows from the affected regions. They have not yet come, but they will. It's a question of facilitation.
Of what? Facilitation of them to come?
Yeah.
What, do they need bus fare?
Yes.
Okay.
Clearly.
Okay.
They're coming from Nakuru all the way to Nyandarua, so they need some.
All the way is what?
Well, there are two things here that must be considered. There are those who also claim that some of the native breeds of cows are less affected than some of these exotic ones, which are clearly imports. You know, the high milk yielding.
Yes.
Okay? That's one. Secondly, there is the argument that other livestock, goats, sheep, are not
affected.
Yes. Okay? So there's no shortage of explanation as to what the possibility is. But the truth is, for cows to suddenly go blind, something must be bringing this about. And this is something that can be done about it. Now, this issue of people waiting to have transport provided for them.
To be facilitated.
What is their job really?
To be facilitated.
Okay, fine, I've gotten the facilitation bit, but what is their job?
Exactly this thing that they're being called to do, that's their job.
Especially because that's what they do.
This is what they do. This is their job. It's
This
like
is
saying,
a
CT, come
lab.
and do the show in the morning. Then you say, facilitate me to come and do my job.
It's exposing a number of things. Number one, that whole extension of services, it's missing. Because these people, the reason why this woman, for example, did not go to a vet is because she knows I've got to pay. Because there are no government-provided extension service providers, vets. So the kind of vets that are there are just commercial vets. Maybe also some of them are actually not qualified. Because by the time a vet comes and they know, Mr. So-and-so, nilimwambia apatia hii dawa. Mr. So-and-so akaniita nikapatia. Mr. So-and-so, this is the dip that they provide. This is the kind of agrochemicals that they are providing in the area. It tells you there's something that's missing.
Eric, you know, Nyandarua is a food-producing county.
Yes.
Okay? It's not known for its skyscrapers. Okay? It's not known for some vast, lush conservancies and animal pathways. Food-producing.
Yeah.
Among the things they produce is dairy products. They produce milk in abundance. So I would assume that the county understands that this is a resource that must be protected. There is a Department of Agriculture. It exists.
Yes.
There are officers, because the department, well, if it exists in theory and there are no people to man it, then it really isn't a department. So I would assume that part of the effort that the county would be making was to ensure that this resource that they have in abundance is looked after well. It's not really that complicated, is it? Because this milk, I'm sure, is taken to a depot, is taken to a sacco. All these setups that I'm talking about exist.
Yes.
So are you telling me that you have a point, you have a sacco, you have a grouping that collects your milk but does not take care of the animal that produced the milk? Does it make sense to you?
Doesn't make sense, but that's exactly what's happening.
But these things aren't structured that way. I come from a sugar cane producing area, and believe me, what the factories do is precisely that. They ensure that if you are the farmer, they enable you, they will give you seed, they'll give you fertilizer, they'll even harvest. They make sure that produce is...
They'll even study the soil.
They will and tell you
what you need to do.
Yes, and they'll even tell you this soil of yours, this is what you need to plant here.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, agriculture, if we say it's the mainstay of this country, we've had a structure that ensures the furtherance of these activities. Again, I'm repeating, a county that is known for its agricultural produce, and you're telling me that it has an agricultural system that is not limping at best, almost non-existent. So something isn't quite right here.
There's something that's completely wrong, because even if you look at this story, quotes a Daniel Gitari, a Nyahururu-based vet, who says most livestock farmers who can't access a cattle dip use handheld sprayers to wash their animals at home. He notes that the same sprayers are used on the animals are the ones used by farmers to spray crops. If the equipment and all are not well cleaned before using them on cows, the crop chemical residue might be what is causing blindness in a large number of cows in the county. There's an issue of the quality of agrochemicals that are being used. the active ingredients in these agrochemicals. And remember, there's a whole this whole campaign about the active ingredients in some of the agrochemicals being sold in the country that have been banned in the countries of manufacture,
of origin.
And there is also now the extension services where there are farmers who don't have access to cattle dips in a milk producing county.
Aye. You know, the other thing that I find strange, if you've ever visited somebody who is a farmer and has cows, they look after those cows, my friend.
They're like their children.
My friend, they look after those cows.
Yes.
Well, it's their livelihood. Why would they trifle with it? So this theory that this particular vet is talking about, that there's a likelihood that the equipment is unsafe and unclean, yes, it's a possibility, yes, but a remote one. Farmers are very careful about whatever it is that they do with their produce. Very, very careful. I think what seems apparent is negligence.
There's something that's, yes.
Someone who's supposed to do what they're supposed to do isn't.
And you know, the cause of this could actually be something extremely simple that required a simple duty or simple activity to be carried out, and it really wasn't. I mean, if it's something as simple as cleaning a farming tool properly after having used it on the farm and then using the same thing for livestock.
Just make sure
something
that
as
there's a cattle
simple
dip.
as that.
No, I'm trying to tell you this. I have talked to farmers, I've been to farms. The care that farmers take, my friend.
But this is what we're saying right now. That it's very possible that the care was not taken.
The care they take, you know, that's why they're spraying.
Yes.
Okay? So the thing for this farmer, as long as I'm spraying, now they're not considering that I really need to wash this thing because this is crop dower to put animal dower. It is dower.
That is likely. But if you also know the people who sell these things, train these farmers in knowing what to do and how to go about it.
Some of them don't.
Then if they don't...
I'd like to... My hunch here is telling me agrochemicals.
Then, my friend, we've narrowed it down, haven't we?
Yes. The chemicals that have been used here, either for crop or for the animals, something is not right. Either somebody is selling a fake one because those are rampant and there are very many in the country. Somebody is selling a fake product labeled as some brand and it's not the actual brand. Or somebody is actually selling a very bad thing that's poisonous. And you can imagine, by the time it's making the cows go blind, the people who have consumed the milk from this cow, what's happening to them? It's 7:15. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Hey, there are many people online. Eh? Yes. Say hello to us. We'll be saying hello to you shortly. This is the Situation Room. Let's take a look at the weather.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up, Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, Nairobi, we're looking at showers still in most parts of the city this morning at 17. It'll go to highs of 23 today. We'll see highs of 23 as well in Nyeri, where rain showers are coming down, still at 16. 16 degrees and partly sunny in Nakuru, going to highs of 24 and lows of 15. 25 will be the high in Eldoret. It's mostly cloudy at 16. Mostly cloudy conditions in Kisumu at 20, going to highs of 28. 27 will be the high in Kakamega. It's mostly cloudy at 19 and high chance of rain going into the afternoon. Mombasa, it is coming down at 27, highs of 32 and lows of 25. 25. Indeed, it is raining in Malindi at 25, highs of 32 and lows of 27. It's mostly sunny in Kampala at 21. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 19. We'll see highs of 31 in Dar es Salaam. It's lightly raining at 25. Clear conditions in Johannesburg at 14, highs of 26 and lows of 13, and partly cloudy in Lagos at 28, highs of 33 and lows of 27. Cloudy skies in Kinshasa at 24. It'll go to highs of 32, back down to lows of 24.
Spice FM. Spice up your life.
(18:07), so there are more people online.
Yes, there are. Okay, so quite some. Yegon is tuned in, wondering, where are you, Yegon? That's the question. More and more people tuned in this morning. Wairero Dennis Lepera says, good morning and happy Easter to you all. Happy Easter to you too. Abute Wata says Pamoja. Yes, Tuko Pamoja. Kisi well represented as well. Kiplagat Ezra Ndanai Kaplelach Bomet County. Wow. Locked into the show until the end. Karibu Sana. Kennel Town is listening, and that's from Daniel Simiu. And Jeffrey Muchama is tuning from Kisumu Kibos this morning. Migori well represented by Haron and the Situation Room. Good morning there, Dagoreti Kabiria. Well represented. And Shirage, you're not on the train this morning, and you're in Roiro today, which is good. Not leaving, right?
Public holiday manenas.
Ongata Rangai, and that's where Jared Oginga is tuned in from. Stanley Ngashe, happy Easter, tuned in from Garden Estate. The last comment by Eric on the consumers of the milk from the blind cows in Yandara County is as pregnant as tomorrow. Wow, okay. Simon Villa tuned in from Ole Kasasi. Beatrice tuned in from Nyeri. And George Olek tuned in from Kasarani. Everybody's tuned in this morning. My goodness. Muheba Vidal is tuned in, as well as Duncan Erot from Turkana, Lodwa, watching.
All right. Asanteni sana, everybody. Welcome to the show. So, City, there's this whole political headline. You want to deal with it?
This one of the UK and Kenya?
This other one on the Standard this morning.
Raila and Ruto question. You know, Ndu has a phrase he likes using with reference to our political situation, calling it the silly season. This one has gone on for so long that I think it's no longer just silly, it's stupid. Because if you consider for a single second what you see happening, and what has taken center stage in our discussions. Kenya Alliance 1, handshake, Deputy President Ruto. Now, we know that in this country, there can only be one president at a time. Okay? Who stands a chance? We also know that in this country, people always position themselves to be relevant in politics. Now, when they form these coalitions, it's part of that attempt to remain relevant. Essentially, to state and to say that I'm still in the game, I'm still up for consideration. Now, as to who it is that has a national presence and can actually garner votes from all parts of the country, you see, that's yet another discussion. And currently, as we are speaking, two people who seem to be front runners seem to be Raila Odinga and Deputy President Ruto. The other players, yes, have a huge say, but in their backyards. Some, even that big say in their backyards is iffy. But what is certain is this. The formula that is used in trying to bring about some understanding has to do with how power can be shared and who gets what. If that is agreed upon, then the issue that we keep discussing on and on becomes obvious. But then, relevance has to do with how long you also stay in the public eye. An unlikely union such as the one that is being talked about in the Standard. Unlikely because we in the media presented it as unlikely, as unlikely, as unlikely. And yet, we've seen these two people working together at some point.
Yep.
We've seen even the presidency that we now have was unlikely. we've seen many unlikely things, but that seems to be the nature of our politics. The very thing that you consider unlikely is a thing that might just happen. So, this is my take. I would rather I went on with my life. Yes. And every once in a while I will read this because
wakiamua wakuambie.
They decide.
If that is if they think they want to tell us, because I personally am with Megun on this one. I'm not boarding.
Not boarding.
No.
When I see this headline though, this is like the third headline or fourth in a fortnight that the Standard has put out on Ruto Raila alliance. Oh, the president seems to be leaning towards One Kenya alliance. So, is this pushing Ruto and Raila together? That was on a Friday. A Sunday, similar kind of headline. Oh, what the president is doing, this One Kenya alliance formation. Or is it pushing then Ruto and Raila together? And then again, here, Raila and Ruto question. ODM leaders' actions have dictated the direction of Kenya's politics for decades. Also, when a rumored possible reunion with the DP broke, Ruto's allies in Uhuru's Mount Kenya backyard declared that any alliance between the two would have political consequences for Ruto. Now, Mudavadi says One Kenya alliance is open to working with Raila. This. I'm seeing there's a conversation that's taking place here that we are being fed by some political players somewhere. Why this particular headline? Why insist on this particular narrative?
Well,
and who is insisting on this particular narrative? That Ruto and Raila. And now we've started now coming into, okay, now it could be possible that Raila could even bring in the One Kenya guys together. One Kenya guys, remember, are NASA. Apart from Gideon Moi, everybody else there is NASA coalition.
Very true.
So
and as we know, officially NASA hasn't broken up.
Yes. So are we heading to that position where, okay, after all these games, musical chairs, is that NASA is together and Gideon now has also joined them.
Or we're heading towards another pentagon of 7 parties.
Yes.
The thing is, our politics has 3 elements to it. There is what we, the consuming public, believe to be the truth. And that truth, by the way, is not a singularity. No. It's as diverse as our political interests. And then there is what the players know to be the truth. Okay? Then there is what they think they need to do in order to put themselves in a favorable position politically. So the utterances must never be seen as just utterances. They are a vehicle. They are a vehicle to get you to see things in a particular way. Now, the consistency with which this particular message is being put forth, if you just take a back seat and look at our politics, because sometimes we disregard what our history, our political history tells us. If you just pause for a second and ask yourself, okay, what have we seen in the past that what we are seeing now is similar to? And how many of these coalitions have we seen coming together, breaking up, for the longest time since multipartyism came to this country? Okay? But what is it that is the underlying understanding that is the underlying thing is this. People are jostling for power and they're trying to determine what a winning formula would be and who should be in or who should be out. Now, given what is at stake, the truth of the matter is that there's going to be a lot of jostling. There'll be a lot of negotiating.
There'll be a lot of side shifting, changing.
Yes, but behind all this, there are these players who are, this term deep state, there are people even within, forget the government, even within political parties, who also tend to have their own agenda. That is always the other problem. They also think that they need to maneuver things to go in a certain direction to suit their purposes. Yes. Yeah. And sometimes what you're seeing playing here is precisely that.
Like you said, you're not boarding.
Nah. We can talk about it from time to time.
Let them play their games.
They're likely to give you something else that's going to throw a span in the works tomorrow.
Yeah.
You could say this today and then somebody's going to, sit on that for a minute and then the next 2 days, somebody's going to say something that you thought could never actually happen. So it's true. Just allow them.
Brian Obara calls it political shock opera.
But it's what it is. You see, one of the things that I have seen that I have personally liked about some of these changes in our politics, it's when you talk about tribal blocks and tribal alliances with other tribes, okay? I've seen the most unlikely alliances occurring. And in this season, what I have seen happening in the Mount Kenya region and their support for Ruto is something I found very refreshing. Refreshing, let me say in this sense. The narrative that that part of the country never really votes for anybody other than their own seems to be breaking. Yes, it seems to be breaking. It seems like this norm that was considered the norm for the longest time might no longer be the norm. Now, if that were the case, then it means that this narrative we've had about people ordinarily just voting for their tribal chiefs, that might also begin to change. Well, that's my hope now, of course. Somebody may tell me it's a pipe dream, but it's a pipe dream worth having. That people might actually ask and say, look, fine, I know this person speaks the language that I speak.
There are only two tribes here that could now move out of that. The Kikuyu and the Luo. Luyas have voted for non-tribal chiefs. Coastal people have voted for non-tribal chiefs. Northeastern people have voted for non-tribal chiefs.
Oh, actually, Eric, then let's narrow it down. It's only the Kikuyu. Because the Luos will claim that they voted for Kibaki.
They voted for Kibaki.
Yes, that one claim, they moved.
That's enough.
No, it's one. It's one. They voted for Kibaki. And it's on record.
So it's time for the Kikuyu now voted for somebody else.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but I'm seeing movement. And I'm seeing movement in central Kenya, and I'm seeing something that we've not seen happening before. And this is a good thing.
Indeed. So let's take another break now, see how the roads look like by now, 7:30. And as we do that, let's remind you, the kids are on holiday. They're at home. You're wondering what to do with them. Just log on to generationnextchallenge.com. That's generationnextchallenge.com. It's brought to you by the Standard Media Group in partnership with Fanisi Online, Polyup, and Ademba Otieno Pan-African Hub for Higher Learning. What it does is it brings in these young pupils and gives them an opportunity to join the Kenya National Challenge, where they use the power of math to play fun activities and design their own creations. They'll solve weekly challenges using math computational skills, imagination, critical thinking, competing against and sharing with students all around the country on virtual platform. They'll earn badges and certificates and have the potential to earn scholarships for global challenges and boot camps. Something to keep those little people very, very busy, but also very well engaged and having a lot of fun during this particular time. This is generationnextchallenge.com.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
It's time to answer questions that are worthwhile. The Big Quiz Show is here. Register to play from the comfort of your home by SMSing the word JOIN to 23774. Then watch the live show on KTN every Sunday from 8 p.m. where you could have a chance to win a melee. The fastest and most accurate answers are guaranteed to win. The Big Quiz Show, Sundays at 8 p.m. only on KTN.
We've been all through it, you know. We go to school, study hard, get the much-deserved grades, and celebrate our graduation. Then reality hits us. We get to the job market and we simply don't know where to start off. Thankfully, by visiting jobs.standardmedia.co.ke, your next career breakthrough could be a click away. Get the best in career advice, employment opportunities, internships, part-time jobs, CV writing, and interview coaching. Give your career the much-needed lift on jobs.standardmedia.co.ke.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
He's a goat.
I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Nafandi hii umbo yako iko na pembe.
Hii ni umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, so whereas there is not major traffic on Mombasa Road this morning, you need to be very careful about the floods that have been created on Mombasa Road because of the construction taking place. All right? Quite some as you're getting towards the Nyeri Stadium area. You're passing Capital Centre, the turnoff towards South Sea. We don't know how deep it is, so you're getting in there without being careful. You might get stuck, so be very careful about this, all right? Nyeri Stadium looks like a river, actually. This one is quite serious, so be careful as you're getting into that general direction, okay? In terms of traffic, it's not so much this morning. Getting off of Thika Road into the CBD is a dream. Absolutely smooth and clear, not an issue there. So we're dealing with weather issues that would slow things down considerably. There's poor visibility around Kikuyu area. Fog lights up, guys. You want to use those so that you can be careful. Construction continues. Likoni, Lunga, we're looking into industrial area. That continues today as well. We're getting into the week tomorrow in terms of movement. But for today, it's looking like nobody is getting stuck and not too much in terms of issues. All right, let's talk.
There's been a construction going on at Lunga.
It was supposed to have finished.
For how long? This is like the 13th year.
It was supposed to have finished officially on
Kibaki was
the
still
second
BP
week
chairman
of January.
when this guy started.
Likoni Lunga will finish.
I think Kibaki was Minister for Health when this guy started doing that road.
Lunga,
Jesus.
Milele. Okay, SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Spice up your life.
(26:08). I know, Ndu, you have a big story that you'd like us to focus on.
Yes.
Before we go into the big one, let's go into this one. Last Saturday, John Goge Maina, a man police had placed on their wanted list, sneaked into his wife's bed at 2 a.m., hoping to spend the night with her. But as it turned out, he was being watched by a number of residents who wanted to win the 50,000 shillings bounty police had placed on his head. Maina had been on the police radar for more than 2 years for allegedly establishing a criminal network in Muranga's christened Jeshi ya Gaisha. He was profiled to have engaged in tens of murders, violent robberies, rapes, peddling illicit brews and narcotics. On this fateful night, police received crucial information that the wanted man was in his wife's house, and they pounced on him. He had attracted attention of residents when he sauntered into his house drunk and singing. Muranga. He is on a wanted list. Guy comes home drunk and singing.
He's happy.
Are we told what song he was singing?
Wait a minute. Muranga South Police Boss Alfred Keter confirmed the 2 a.m. arrest at the suspect's home in Maisha Madhe village, that is Life of the Earth, where they dragged him from under his matrimonial bed. Alcoholism is not a good thing, but this is one moment that we as police are unreservedly appreciating alcoholism. The suspect had sneaked in to check on his wife while drunk, and as he approached the gate to his home, he started singing war songs in his drunken stupor. That's how we were tipped that our target was around.
Jeez.
Fungua mlango. Nimekuja.
By the way, something that we must mention before we fungua mlango.
Polisi na kitu gani?
So essentially, well, can I volunteer? I think I know
What?
the song.
What do you want to volunteer?
I know the
You
song.
know the
Oh,
song?
you know the song?
Oh, kanu ya jenga nchi. And I'm sure when they approached him, said, "Oh, ni nyinyi."
He was still singing.
Said,
Niko chini ya kitanda sijajificha.
You guys do this so well. I'm a bit worried, actually.
I am under the bed.
In my house.
In my house.
We're here to arrest you. Huh? Whereas who?
Who?
Do you know my wife's name?
Guys are mad.
Whoever gave him that booze, that guy should get the 50K.
For real.
Something that came
Clean
up
setup.
in the media last week, and I must mention it now.
Yes.
ARVs stuck in the port of Mombasa because the government expects. But these things come in, they're free. They're not sold to people. The government expects taxes to be paid.
From whom?
Well, if you import it, see, you pay tax. Now, problem, they've been sitting there. People need ARV. Remember, a time not too long ago, we talked about a shortage of ARVs in the country.
There was.
Now, how do you explain a shortage when you actually have ARVs sitting in the port? Sitting, literally.
So there's an impasse between government and the importer in
Who's the
terms of
importer?
who is going to pay. So who's the importer? Are we talking about
Is it private?
USAID?
Yes. Usually,
folks like this?
usually they're agencies that are licensed to import these things.
Okay.
Yes. So that is where the problem arises. But they cannot import until whether it's USAID or CDC or PEPFAR give them the okay. They do this on behalf, because PEPFAR don't go around importing things or export. They give you the license, they give you the money, and then you import.
Now, if I may ask, this is not a practice that began in 2021. This is something that has been done on the regular ever since ARVs and their uptake was in this country.
Yes.
The question then arises, how did they do this before? And if you're suddenly asking for taxes, is it because you realize there's a little bit of a dip in the pocket and we need some extra funding? Or it was done this way before and you realize we're losing out on some revenue as the government?
My question
How was
is,
it done before?
Are we sure that these things are stuck at the port because of non-payment of taxes?
If you ask me, usually there is an understanding that the government has with the importers about exemption. Because we're talking about exemption here, not taxes, exemptions. And there's a process that you follow in order to get that exemption. All right? As was reported, and as is being discussed, it is more to do with the feelings that these things should not have any sort of duty or taxes levied on them, more than whether the procedure was actually followed or not. And if that procedure was not followed, then what are the guidelines for that procedure to be followed so that the exemptions can be given?
Yeah, so we can move along with this caboose. I mean, what are we talking about
But
here?
there's yet a third discussion here. People who expect to use the forceful arm of the law to bring you or to bend you to their will. They say, okay, you want to bring these things in.
But my question is,
Fine.
why now? This has been...
Oh, this isn't the first time it has happened.
Now, what is going on?
This is not the first time. This sort of situation,
Yes.
not the first time,
No.
just so that we understand.
It's not the first time that
But in
ARVs
terms
are
of this
being
kind of...
imported.
It's
No.
not... Okay, there are a
They've been
number of
imported
things,
all
eh?
along.
Hold
Alright.
on, there's a number of things.
Okay.
This is not the first time ARVs have been imported into the country. It happens on a regular.
Number one.
Okay? This is not the first time, according to CC, that there's been this kind of friction in terms of, okay, who's going to import, who is going to allow the process to carry on because of exemptions, etc.
Number
And it
two.
seems have been sorted out before.
Number
two. This number is not the first time it has come into the public. However, could be the first time that we see now people getting into a panic because they're asking questions of, how are we going to get our medication?
Okay.
Because we can be running out and we are looking towards a crisis and we could plunge people back into that era where hundreds of thousands of people died as a result of HIV.
You know, there's been all this talk that, the not powers that be, but the development partners that have been supporting us, there are some now who are saying that this system has been so corrupted, this government system, that we'd like to do this thing in a different way. We'd like the drugs to arrive and then to go to the beneficiaries through a different channel that is clearer of corruption. Because the one that is there is fraught with corruption. And I've heard that conversation happen. But I keep asking this question, are we sure that these things are stuck at the port because of non-payment of tax? If, and it's not the first time, ARVs are being imported on behalf of the people of the Republic of Kenya through some aid agency that has subcontracted someone to come and do the logistics. This is not the first time this is happening. So why is it that this particular time it's even finding its way into the public and with one
asking.
conversation in place?
That
You know
is what
what?
I'm asking.
People risk going without ARVs.
Yeah.
Come on, there must be a story.
That's what I'm
there is a
asking.
story.
What
Something
is
at the
going
back
on
of my mind
now?
is telling me
There is a
there's
story,
something.
Yeah.
and the story is procedure. At the one level, the organization that has imported these drugs is called Chemonics. I don't know Chemonics, on behalf of USAID, right? The focus is on the value placed on these drugs, 1 billion Kenya shillings. However, the process that is being followed, the moment you give a private entity that authority to license, the Kenya government is arguing it's a private entity. So if you're a private entity, pay tax.
Yes.
There is a government-to-government arrangement that the Kenya government is arguing that normally exists, where the consignee is directed, because it's a donation, it goes directly to the government.
Right.
Right? It said, in those circumstances, there's no tax. But the moment, very simply,
The moment you bring in a private entity,
you
that
would-
now becomes
bus.
commercial.
And are we saying
Tax.
historically there has never been a private entity that has been entered into this to bring in these imports?
No. There have been, but even private entities often register with the relevant ministry so,
So
that
it's
they can
sanctioned.
be granted.
It's
to-
sanctioned
Yes, it's
before
granted,
before
yes.
they arrive. There's already that process. They've gone through the process.
Yes, and
first of all, USAID or PEPFAR or whoever informs the government that we're going to use so and so to import, and then that entity then receives the necessary waivers, and they bring it in.
Essentially, they're saying that any importation that is conducted through private firms do not qualify for special exemptions. Not complicated. And are subject to normal clearance procedure. Now, why I bring this up, USAID knows this. USAID have been dealing with this country for the longest. They understand this.
Yes.
So is it that the person who was responsible for doing this thing dropped the ball and didn't do the due diligence required before?
Do we have a new person maybe who's dealing with this, who's decided, okay, look, I'm tired of what I've been seeing and I want to see
And I
something
want to see it done differently.
Or I want to introduce a new system. But then they did not consult. They thought just because we am the donor, I can dictate how these things work. And did not.
You see, USAID are also complaining that they have encountered challenges in obtaining import permits for such arrangements. That's what I'm saying. Something is happening here with the people who are in charge of these things within the Ministry of Health, who are supposed to further these things to the Ministry of Finance. There's a whole process. But there's something also within USAID. This ARVs have been coming to this country now going to 20 years.
Exactly.
Okay. So what is this thing that has suddenly changed? Because it is a donation.
Yes. What's new?
What is it? That
What
is
is
different?
it? There's reporting and there are these stories. They are bound, and every side giving their story. Something else is happening here that requires clarity. Something else is happening. Why would the Ministry of Health refuse to clear something that it knows is going to be beneficial to its
And they've
And
done
you didn't
this,
pay for it.
And they've done this
So what's
for
the problem? And they've been doing it.
Yes, why would they?
It's normal that it happens in this way. Why stop it?
And then why, let me just put this, why leak this information to the public with a certain slant to it? That, you know what, there is corruption at the port of Mombasa, there's corruption in government, now the government wants to kill its own people by not providing them with ARVs, now look at this, and yet you're getting them for free, and yet it's a donation, and you don't appreciate, you're vomiting on their shoes, this is that kind of narrative.
By the way,
I'm getting this feeling.
This story began in October 2020 when the ministry says they were expecting this consignment. And the consignment I'm speaking of has been the port of Mombasa since January, okay? The report also says, according to Business Daily, that when the ministry asked that consignment you guys were bringing, what happened? They went mum on it. They didn't get a response, according to that report. Then the next thing they knew, in January they were told the consignment is here.
It's here.
So is it at what? Okay, how did it get here? Then the saga that I was talking about now began in earnest.
Right. Games being played here. And it's unfortunate that the people who suffer are the people who everybody claims to be speaking on behalf of. It's 7:45. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It is the Situation Room. Let's take another quick break and then we look at other stories that are making headlines. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Have you seen them? Am I lying?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Everyone in Wasingishu was asking me, what channel is SpiceFM?
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
what
you.
What a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you. And it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very Swiss temperatures.
Yes, do.
So, unfortunately, villagers crying for help as the drought escalates. This is what we're looking at. Hunger-stricken families in Garissa are appealing for relief food and water as the drought intensifies. This is happening in this country. Now, I wish I had the clip because exactly 6 months ago today is the 5th of April. Exactly 6 months ago, we said this in this room, and we said that the time is coming where there will be a drought in this country, leave alone all the rains that were flooding everywhere and classrooms were being carried away, etc., etc. We said there needs to be adequate planning for when there will be a dry season in this country and people will not be able to afford to even have food. That time is now. Local leaders say the situation is dire and needs immediate intervention with combined efforts from national and county as well as humanitarian aid agencies. Already, pastoralists have lost a significant number of livestock as others remain weak from the vagaries of a drought that continue to ravage parts of the country. Last week, the government announced that 1.2 million people were at risk of starvation as a result of the drought. Liboy Ward Representative Hussein Ahmed Bashir described the situation as catastrophic, saying it was likely to get worse in the coming days. Almost all water points have dried up. There is also not enough water in the few boreholes left. The distance between the grazing areas and water points have increased unprecedentedly. People need water and food. We are asking the country and the county and national government to provide water bowsers to residents affected by this drought. Bashir said most residents were pastoralists who solely depend on livestock that were now threatened by the prevailing drought. This is a major issue, but we're not only looking at Garissa, right? We're looking at other parts of the country as well, which we knew was going to happen. Mandera, Wajir, parts of Isiolo, northeastern, in that whole area. The National Drought and Management Authority said the short rains season's performance was below average. This is what we heard was going to happen. Rain should have started in March, only starting now. And the country received 51 to 75% of the normal rains of 154.3 millimeters and was further characterized by poor distribution in space and time. So, according to the authority, 6 months ago, they also knew, 3 to 6 months ago, they also knew that these short rains, which we're entering into now, were going to delay. They were aware of this.
Yeah.
So now we're in this situation.
We're here. The government
again.
spokesman has already come out and said, yes. There are millions of people who require urgent intervention in terms of their food on a daily basis. And this is where we are. You know, like we said, there is the National Drought Management Authority. We have the Ministry of Devolution, Arid and Semi-Arid Lands. We have state agencies that look at matters of drought and food and nutrition security. We have county governments that are on the ground. They know what's happening. And yet, every year, without fail, every day, there's at least 1 million Kenyans who don't have access to food.
There is an organization.
Every day.
There's an organization that is stationed in this region, and their job is to provide almost to the letter, almost every 30 days, information as to the weather patterns and what it's going to look like. And they give advice in terms of mitigation of what needs to be done. FAO does this on a regular. That's their job, to support and say, this is what is going to happen. This is what we need to do. And this is what we need to do now.
And it's not just their job. They do a fairly good job of it. And we are informed.
Yes.
We are back to that treadmill again, aren't we?
It's like a hamster on a wheel, man.
We never get off.
Never get off.
It's a very good business. If you actually now let's look at it from the other side. It's very good business. It's very good business for very many people. For non-governmental organizations, for aid agencies, for government, for private sector. To have this situation where you need to feed people. It's very, very big business.
It is.
And every time you think about, 1.4 million, when the government, a statement just from government itself is enough to open up the floodgates. Cash comes flowing.
Oh, yeah.
The moment government spokesman Colonel Cyrus Oguna called a press conference and said, you know what people require, as script was just being executed, tick, we are at that stage. Next now. On the strength of that the government of Kenya has declared there are people who require support, food. The next thing that now comes in is mobilization of funds and resources. And people are making a kill. This story is appearing in the papers every day. So and so. You see the county government coming out and saying, people now require, we need water bowsers. We need to bring water closer to the people. We need to give food rations.
Look at that entire supply chain in terms of who will benefit.
That thing, business. And that's how it can never be removed, because you kill that, you kill business.
This is almost, it's very sad, and it gets you to the point of depression when you look at some of the pictures that come out. And that, again, is also big business. Taking out these pictures and sending out on certain platforms, that also is big business. But you can imagine the people who are living on a daily basis, struggling to survive, who are watching their livestock die and are watching their children also die because of malnutrition and other things like this. They can't, there's no food.
Yep.
Even if they wanted to, they can't. There's no rain, there's no water, there's nothing. And then we look at the other side and there are people who are commercializing suffering.
I'm giving you a couple of days. We're now on the 5th day of April, right? By the 15th day of April, you'll see Cabinet Secretary in charge of Devolution and Assals, Eugene Omalwa, will make some statement.
No, they'll be flagging off trailers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there'll be the issue of going around the counties, dealing with the governors and the people on the ground, flagging off and giving some food and relief food, and then coming up with this whole story of now we are doing things differently. Instead of coming up with food from Nairobi and flagging off trucks from Nairobi going to other parts of the country, what we're going to do is we're going to have a cash transfer program. And now the cash will now go to the direct beneficiaries. And then the direct beneficiaries will be linked. So if you're in this certain village, you are linked to a certain wholesale shop where that's where you're buying your supplies from.
Can I be naive?
The supplies to that whole-sale shop are what we're not asking.
Who is bringing them? Who's bringing them?
We will be innovative. We'll be innovative. This whole be a shadow of saying that let's give one particular company the warehousing and the food bagging and transport. We have moved from that because now this one has become too obvious. Now let's go to the ground.
So
people are given a scratch card, not a scratch card. Yes, the SIM card, and it has this mobile wallet. It's very ingenious, but it's brilliant. Mobile wallet, and 1,200 shillings is put into your mobile wallet every month or every week. And out of that 1,200, 200 shillings is for your other things. You can go to hospital, you can spend here and there. 1,000 bob is for food. And for this food to go and redeem, you go to a certain shop. And then that certain shop is where you go, you redeem for food worth 1,000 bob, whatever you want to buy. Is it gorogoro ya mahindi? Is it unga? Is it mafuta ya kupika? Whatever. But it has to be foodstuff, and it's a certain list of foodstuff. You buy, you go back home. And then now on the back end, what we're doing is we're supporting this local economy by supplying the wholesale shop with the supplies. And we've already agreed, utakuwa ukiuzia watu unga, this amount. So we are supplying back-end supply and back-end support. Brilliant, fantastic logistics, fantastic business.
Good business plan, good business execution.
So
What were you going to ask?
No, I wanted to be naive a bit, but I think it's going to take some time, and I think we can talk about this on a totally different day in terms of development and how that will work. But here we are.
Can you be naive briefly?
No, it will not be enough. But so this thing that you're talking about now essentially is that because of the commercial interests of people, because of thievery and corruption, then there's never going to be proper development whereby it can actually happen. It will not happen. This thing you're saying, we're talking about here, diverting water, building a dam in some of these areas, in the Assals, it's not going to happen. Because you do all of that and then somebody's not going to be able to get the millions in their pocket.
Now
it's
you
not
see,
going to happen.
it can happen. Let me tell you why
it can.
It can. Magufuli showed us it could. In the short time that gentleman was president, his track record supersedes literally every other president on this continent. Literally. The things he got to do in that time. I am not talking about his human rights record. No. I'm talking about the development.
Things that were done.
Yes. And the interesting thing was that he set those projects. Not only were they done, they were completed. And within the costs that had been set up. Not these crazy cost overruns that whenever you're told this is a cost, we sit back and say, okay, let's wait for the overruns. Because we know they're going to come. See, I was going to say like rain. Rain, we're never really sure when it's going to come. When it comes, you know it has rained today. But yes, it can be done. That radical way of doing things, it can be done.
Can be done.
The issue is, do we have people who can do it? That is the question.
Yes.
Tanzania got somebody who could do it.
For a while.
But he showed us it can be done.
Yes.
It can be done.
It's possible even in this country for this thing to be
It's extremely possible.
It's possible for these things to happen.
Look, people who have the ability, most certainly, whether they have their backbone for it, different story.
Can you work
and
with
this is not a backbone of being brave to do it. No. Being brave enough to resist the lure of corruption.
Yes. Right.
Yes. That's it. Because we've seen people who have remarkable careers, maybe the corporate world, they get some of these government jobs.
Then they
things go south so quickly,
and
so
you ask
fast.
yourself, what happened?
What happened to this?
Somebody was in academia, was known to be, and in fact, they are brought in there because you feel this person is straight-laced, a straight shooter. God Almighty, the things they get to.
Hii ni Kenya yetu. You are appointed as a CS. You come in there, guns blazing, shooting from the hip, and then
before we know it,
you run out of bullets.
As they say in Nigeria, na condition they make crayfish bend.
Na condition they make the fish bend.
Crayfish bend.
Yes.
Okay.
Na condition they make crayfish bend.
The crayfish bend thing. So the crayfish here in the CS has bent.
Yes.
Na condition make them bend.
Samaki mkunji angali mbichi.
Basi.
Coming to the top of the hour, thank you very much for tuning in. Ruben Kipruto, who is one of our listeners, listens to us from his office, which is just 15 steps from his bedroom, is working on this public holiday. And he says, all right, kudos, guys. You give us that grief about how our government is. That thing that comes out after you've eaten. It's 8 o'clock. Good morning.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, so what has happened? So now there's traffic. South B to GPO, Mombasa Road and Uhuru Highway. Been reduced to 1.5 lanes, yes we know. So it's thinner than it was a few weeks ago. So there is some traffic in some parts of Mombasa Road, in and outbound, unfortunately. I'm very sorry, but this one is nothing we can do. Also, there's water on the road, right? Or there's a little road in the water. You have to be able to find it so that you know where you're going. And the rains keep coming down. There's a sprinkle still in some parts. Visibility low in other parts, so please be very careful. We're not looking at major traffic jams today, guys. It's not going to be too bad, but the water and the weather seem to be the ones that will slow things down considerably. Okay. In all things, please be very, very careful. Talk to us just in case anything does go wrong. All right. We'll take the good and the bad. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
2 minutes after 8. So, it's half lane at between Nyayo Stadium and Haile Selassie.
Haile Selassie, yes, roundabout.
By the way,
it's a 1.5 lane road. Used to be 2, now 1.5. As by the time we get to the end of this week, it will be 1.
Actually, there was a barrier just as you're heading towards Nyayo Stadium, and you have to sort of like go down and then turn and come back. They've opened it up. But then now, the lane that you used to come into town is the lane that you're using to go out of town.
Yes.
And at the same time, vehicles coming into town.
It's crazy.
Yes.
So coming out of, getting to Bunyala roundabout, coming from town, heading towards the airport, you'd get to Bunyala roundabout, it's blocked. So you have to find your way. Now, because we were coming early in the morning at 5 a.m., there's no traffic. We'd go and do a U-turn there near Baricha Road.
No problem whatsoever, yes.
I'm sure during peak traffic, when Baricha Road is now also busy, Bunyala is busy, you'd have to go all the way down, come up towards...
It's far. It's madness.
I can understand.
Now they've closed off. Now
it's closed.
Now they've opened. They've opened the roundabout on one end, and then you get now to the other side where you're approaching Mega.
And it's closed.
Mega is closed off. So you have to go to the other side, use the wrong side of the road, coming all the way to Nyayo Stadium on the wrong side, and then find your way now to the right side.
And before you get to the roundabout, there's Lake Nyayo.
The entire swimming pool of Nyayo Stadium
there
is on the road.
But on the roundabout complete, just so that you don't feel left out. If you're coming up Lusaka Road, you also encounter it.
It's not discriminatory.
It's not discriminatory at all.
Let me tell you, cars are going to stall.
And we've not entered the short lanes properly yet.
I really never have an idea. I stopped understanding short, long range.
I
don't
It's
understand.
just rain, don't worry.
Yes, I honestly don't understand those things.
It's just rain.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's raining a lot. That
Yes.
much I can understand.
Yeah.
Plenty rain.
It's just plenty rain.
Day 4.
It's going to be chaotic, especially from tomorrow when everybody's back out. This contractor is
understanding that some of these changes took place between Thursday and today, where a lot of people,
more
were
away
off the roads.
Yes.
Shock, horror tomorrow.
City, anyway, just remind us today's proverb.
No tree produces fruits before producing flowers.
No tree
Produces fruits
before
producing flowers.
Okay.
Yes.
So flower is necessary for fruit.
Yes. And don't get any crazy idea that it produces fruits, then that fruit becomes a flower. No, it's the other way around.
Higher. Now, City, as we talk about that, let's talk about this fruit that has become our flower. Because for us, it's the other way around. Since last year to date, the government has received quite some substantial support from various lenders.
It has.
To support the government operations, which is required because, hard times with COVID and all. We've gotten to a point where it's 1.2 trillion shillings borrowed during the COVID year. And we're just coming off the back of this announcement on Friday, was it Friday or Saturday, by the IMF, that they're going to help us with some more cash because, you guys need some money. The IMF board approved 1.655 billion SDR, that's about $2.35 billion, arrangement for Kenya. 3-year financing package will support the next phase of the authority's COVID-19 response and the plan to reduce debt vulnerabilities while safeguarding resources to protect vulnerable groups. The fund-supported program will also advance the broader reform and governance agenda, including by addressing weaknesses in some state-owned enterprises and strengthening transparency and accountability through the anti-corruption framework. So that's just some cash that's coming in from, the IMF. The last 1 year, the government has basically borrowed 1.2 trillion shillings for support. And every time you hear these kind of questions and you ask people, so where has the money gone? People will always ask you, yes, exactly where has the money gone? Let's look at the numbers in greater detail. On March 17th, we got about 66 billion shillings a month. That's 792 billion shillings. March 18th, 779 billion shillings. March 19th, 540 billion shillings. March 20th, 858.2 billion shillings. November 20th, 971 billion shillings. No, we're talking about, these are the years. It's March 2017 to November 2020. March 2020, IMF gave us 78.3 billion shillings. World Bank, 114 billion shillings. The AFDB, 22.5 billion shillings. The European Union, 7.5 billion shillings. March 2021, we've just gotten 257 billion shillings from the IMF. This is basically showing you the kind of money that we've been dealing with. The country's stock of public debt, 971 billion shillings in 8 months between March and November last year. Kenya increased its stock of public debt by this amount under the cover of fighting the COVID-19 pandemic.
So all this money was for COVID?
Well, it's for various things. It's just like this particular one from the IMF. It is to help in the next phase of post-COVID response. Right? So the number of things that it'll do, for example, supporting the broader reform and governance agenda. Now we're looking at our state-owned enterprises. Now these are the parastatals and state corporations, strengthening transparency and accountability, looking at how well we can, run our government better, budgetary support, all those things. But because COVID is a good reason, because of COVID and the impact that COVID has had on your economy, we therefore understand the kind of situation that you're in. So we're giving you support.
We get the impression that these are some of the things the government must have been avoiding. Because IMF is not just going to give you money. They're not a private lender. They just lends you money and says, when are you paying me? They give you money and they tell you, okay, folks, with this money comes the following. There's this question of reducing debt vulnerability. What it entails is, and they give you a list of the things that they want you to do, okay? So, COVID, umbrella statement, umbrella understanding, but with it, there are economic requirements, stringent measures that they will expect you to follow. Now, the question I would like to ask, because this to me is the heart of the matter, is this a good thing or is it not a good thing?
Good thing for who? Good
thing for us.
For we, the citizens, we, the taxpayer.
The IMF, it's good for them. They know what's good for them. They don't give you money if they haven't figured out what's good for them. No, it's us. What good will it present us with?
What good has it done? The money that has come in the year, it's not as though it's sitting in a basket somewhere waiting to be expensed. It has come in. It is clear it has been given, right? Up until the 257 billion that we saw in the last payout, right? So it has to come up, and the question must be: all this money that you're receiving, condition or not, given for free or not, what has it done? Again, I'm going to go what Eric is asking. The people, the citizens, the taxpayer, the ones who are hoping for some kind of relief. Have you been able to see how this has actually worked and helped the country until this time that we are speaking? 1.2 trillion shillings ain't chicken change. It's not. It's a lot of money that could do a lot in this country. But the question is, all this money that has come in, have we been able to see an adequate result as a result of it? Have we? And they say that it has come in aid for many different things, fighting COVID-19, budgetary support. We did see that at the end of the previous financial year, the government had not been able to meet budget. So again, there was more money that came in to enable you meet the previous fiscal year budget before we go into the next one, right? To make up for that extra money that was not available. So, and we know that a major part of money from budget goes towards overheads, paying salaries, etc., etc. Apart from that, can we see where this money actually went? And if we can't, if we are at pains to say it's clear that it went here, here, and here, and that we can see the result of it, then I think we're in a bit of a pickle. Because the questions are going to continue arising. So the money that we give you, where exactly? These conditions that you're saying, that clearly that IMF set out, are they met?
I get the impression, Ndu, that you don't feel where 1.2 trillion shillings has
Show
gone.
me the money.
You don't feel where the money has gone.
No.
You don't feel where a 3 trillion shilling budget goes every year.
No. I don't feel the impact. I don't. Unless you can show me where it's... Unless you can show me and say, to look here. They said that we needed 500 billion for this, and this. And then we got the money, and this is what we did. Very clear. Do you remember when this COVID thing started and I was making noise here and look like a mad woman? And I was saying, you know what? Even this 50 that came, and then they gave us that budget, which they withdrew, and then brought back, and then withdrew, and then after some time did a disappearing act, and by the way, till tomorrow. We never saw it again. Tell us where you spent it. How did you use this money? You owe it to Kenyans, because when you go out and ask, it's very public. It's very public in its nature. Everybody knows that this money is being borrowed. Everybody knows that this money is being given. Now, when it comes to accountability of the same, for the development of this country, in small or large part, why is it so difficult then to tell Kenyans this is what we did with it? To the letter.
I think
see.
If you ask that question, you'll get answers. Like where the money went, you will get answers.
The same way they gave us that budget whereby they showed us that they ate samosa for 4 million shillings.
On paper, you will get answers. On paper, you'll be shown that 5 billion shillings, for example, went to the counties to support them in preparedness for COVID. They'll give you X amount of money went into Kazi Mtaani.
And then we will have live, actual
they
human
tell you
beings.
another X amount of money went into supporting.
Do you know PS Hinga every week is making a statement apologizing to people who worked Kazi Mtaani? And you know what he's saying? I'm very sorry that we have not made your payment. We are working on it. It is coming. This will be the last delay. Every week, we can show. And, okay, if those are the examples, you say, money came. So why is there a delay in dispersing it? Then they'll say that they gave it to the counties. We had 2 governors who sat here looking at us whole-hearted, telling us, we have not received money for January,
the 5
February,
billion
March.
they got.
Then they'll tell you, okay, but then how are we supposed to do A, B, C, D when it is not enough? It doesn't go through.
That wasn't part of the debt.
No, it's an example that I'm giving. It's an example that I'm giving.
And that's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you, Ndu, if you ask, where did this money go? On paper, you are going to be shown where the money went.
And I'm telling you
to support this and the other, to support the vulnerable groups, various categories of vulnerable groups that were receiving X amount of money, from the youth to the elderly to the women to those who have lost their income,
the
who live
paper
in
is
low.
stop it. The paper
and
is
there are people,
hogwash.
and there are people who will say, "Yes, I received."
Paper.
If you ask, you'll be told about how much money was spent purchasing PPEs to help our healthcare workers. If you ask, you'll be told how much money was actually sent to the counties to support the counties in the response for COVID-19. If you ask, you'll be told where the money has gone. Now, you go
and I'm
for
telling
yourself
you that paper
and check.
testament.
After you're told this is where the money went, go and check.
I'm telling you the paper testament, I'm sorry, cannot be believed.
Actually, it helps. In the absence of that paper testament that you're talking about and testimony, IMF wouldn't even have considered. They believe that...
Even them, they've been hoodwinked.
Yeah. They believe that Kenya is committed to fiscal reforms.
That's
Look.
True. Let me read you what they said. Kenya was hit hard at the onset by the COVID-19 pandemic. With a forceful policy response, the economy has been picking up heading into 2021 after likely posting a slight contraction of 0.1% in 2020. Even with this recovery, challenges remain in the return to durable and inclusive growth, and past gains in poverty reduction have been reversed. This is the IMF.
Sorry, what was
when
that
they were giving us
what was that last thing you said?
Past gains in poverty reduction have been reversed. This is
Hey, Chukunna.
the past gains that we had made in poverty reduction, they were reversed by COVID-19. The COVID shock also exacerbated the country's pre-existing fiscal vulnerabilities. Kenya's debt remains sustainable. The IMF says our debt is sustainable, but it's at a high risk of debt distress. To address debt-related risks, the authorities have taken action to hold the fiscal deficit. Not the authorities of IMF. Ukur Yatani and his boys and girls have taken action to hold the fiscal deficit and debt ratio to 8.7 and 70.4% GDP, respectively. Fiscal and balance of payment financing needs remain sizable over the medium term. Support for the G20 under the Debt Service Suspension Initiative and development partners will contribute to closing the financing gap in 2021. That's why now they're saying, all right, so we come in and support. They are looking back at the paper and they're saying, well, Kenya has actually taken action. The economy was contracting, coming to the end of 2020, and now in 2021, we can see some slight movement in terms of a rebound. Your debt sustainability is still looking pretty good. You guys are doing well. However, you're at a risk. If we don't support you, you can get into problems. And that's why we're coming to support.
You can get into distress. By the way, a lot of these decisions, much as this paper trail seems to bore the living daylights out of you and do, it is important. And that we have people, we know it's a talent that this country has. The ability to document things and present them in a way that is believable. That is
can even write document policy for air.
Yes, that we can also do. The only thing it can't do is produce the oxygen we need in our hospitals. Yes. But the thing you want to consider, even as we talk about this, is please understand, you cannot accept or such these money such as this one cannot be approved until and unless among the things the government does is prove how it is they want to revitalize the economy so that the economy can support the eventual payment of this. Please understand that. Now, I know on paper what the government plans to do and hopes to do is there, and I'm sure it is telling and it is wonderful to look at. The only thing that I wonder sometimes is, these people who are in government, do they understand that a vibrant economy, for all these shenanigans that we see being pulled by these individuals, it's all you need. You've heard people complaining and saying it's part of our problem is because, we have a colonial legacy. Yes, we do. But so do the South Asian countries. They were also colonized. And how did they get out of that nonsense? They have vibrant, growing economies. How did they do it? They were exactly like us. Exactly. Now, that willingness to do a Magufuli, okay?
You're doing with this guy today, huh?
Or yes. And you see, I keep saying, his human rights track record aside, all right? This country, with its capacity, and with the people that this country has, their capacity to withstand and suffering, and the term I think is long-suffering, to be long-suffering and to be innovative. If they were given an opportunity to do what they actually can do, okay, without this unnecessary hindrance and interference, my friend, there is no limit to what this country could actually do.
There's a lot that we could do. What's the reason why we are not doing all these things?
Brother, so long as, people keep saying it and it seems like it's a tired song. It isn't a tired song. Leaders who think that the long-suffering patience that is exhibited by their fellow citizens is something to toy with and something to take for granted and to abuse. Completely flawed, wrong thinking. A platform on which the country can actually grow and mushroom is provided for. The government and the people in charge whom we voted, we've provided them a platform from which to help us move forward. We've done our bit. And we continue doing it because we pay our taxes. And then they continuously let us down. Continuously. It's like you actually get the impression that we mandated them to let us down continuously.
Like, please come and walk all over.
Yes, please.
Please.
The last time you walked on my back, you missed the shoulder.
Yeah, please
walk
come and do it again.
This time, put a little more weight on that shoulder.
Or how about you add nails to the bottom of your shoe as you do this walking?
Yes. So that I can experience some piercing on my belly. This is what they seem to understand. And yet, this other country they want to go to, should this one actually collapse, is which one?
They have
this
none.
One that they want to govern. When they finish all this one.
Yes, which one is it?
None. They have none. Let's take a break at 8:20. take a look at the weather forecast for Nairobi, major towns, and other cities around the world. And as we do that, remember jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. This is one portal by the Standard Group that gives you all the listings for job opportunities in the country. You can go in there, register yourself, and you'll be getting career advice. In the coming days, you'll also be getting personalized newsletters telling you the kind of jobs that have been advertised there. If you, for example, say that I am an engineer, right, and I'm looking for jobs in engineering. So whenever a job is listed on jobs.standardmedia.co.ke and you've signed up for this newsletter, you'll be getting an alert on your email, or even getting an SMS alert. Tells you, Company X is actually looking for somebody who fits the kind of billing that you have. Jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. Check it out today.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they are getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
All right, it still continues to sprinkle in most parts of Nairobi. We'll see highs of 23 and lows of 17. It's raining in Nyeri at 17, highs of 23 and lows of 15. 15 will be the low in Nakuru. It's cloudy at 17. Cloudy conditions also in Eldoret, highs of 24 and lows of 14. We'll see highs of 28 in Kisumu, mostly cloudy right now at 21. The rain seems to have stopped, at least for now, in Kakamega at 22, highs of 27 and lows of 16. We'll see highs of 32 in Mombasa. It's raining at 28. Continues to rain in Malindi as well at 28, going to highs of 32 today. The light rain continues in Kampala at 22. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 19. It's raining in Dar es Salaam as well at 31. That was what the high will be. 26 right now, coming down to lows of 24. Sunny conditions in Johannesburg at 16, highs of 26. Highs of 33 in Lagos. It's clear skies at 28. Mostly sunny in Kinshasa at 24, going to highs of 32. Back down to lows of 24.
Twenty-four after 8, we are looking at the headlines. Kenya has received about 1.2 trillion shillings borrowed during the COVID year. This is the back headline of the Nation today, looking at how much money has come in. And the question we are asking ourselves is, do you feel the impact of the 1.2 trillion shillings borrowed? Well, may I look at it from, this is not 1.2 trillion shillings in addition to the budget. It was budgetary support. Do you feel the impact of the money that has been spent by the government in the last 1 year?
I feel the
2020.
impact. I feel the impact.
Why do you feel that impact?
Well, the impact is that my electricity bill keeps going up. Roads are being built, yes, but basic safety maintenance of ensuring that the road that is being used, the bits of the roads that are being used by people are almost impossible. If it continues raining this way, there's a certain part of the road near Kapil Center that will not be usable at all.
It will continue raining this way.
It is going to continue raining. It will be unusable. So that is number one. The other thing is, we talk about the economy being supported by the informal sector. I hear talks about working to improve the informal sector, but on the other side of that particular cheek that is communicating with me, the informal sector is also being introduced to taxes that didn't exist before. And yet the sort of input that it requires to actually do what it does. This period of COVID is not just about ensuring people are well in terms of you give them a vaccine or this treatment for them. That is one aspect of it. There is the need to be innovative about how it is you can make the economy continue working, not limping. And the government doesn't have to be too clever. All it needs to do is to ensure that the people who work in this economy have the means to be able to do what they can do. They'll innovate on their own. They will not need, for instance, the Eco-Jiko. They did not need the government to come up with an Eco-Jiko in this country. They thought about it and they came up with it.
But what happened? There was at some point, there was an environment that had been created or either so an environment had not necessarily been created for this to happen, but that the frustrations of people to see something that more and more people could use in a manner that was not breaking the bank, and that push was there. So all people actually do then need, or all Kenyans actually need, is an environment that is conducive.
That's all they need.
That's
Actually,
it.
At some level, all they need is not to be overtaxed and to be left alone. They'll figure what to do. But that being left alone means you don't keep charging them more and more. You don't keep restricting them from doing what they need to do. Look, even with COVID, you need to learn from best practices. Locking down doesn't mean people can't move. People move, we see it. But what else do you accompany it with? The government says it doesn't have the money to support people. Find the money. What do you mean? You don't have the money. It's your job to find the money. If you tell us you don't have the money, so who are we supposed to expect to find the money? Where are you supposed to get it from? There is the physical support that is required, but then there's the psychological support that is even more important. Knowing that your government is trying and is willing to do what it means or what is required for you to stay afloat.
When this money is gotten, does it not come with, this is the reason why we're getting the money, right? You know, you go to the bank.
Oh, it comes with that.
Of course it does.
So now, if you're getting 500 billion, for example, you're saying this is what it's actually supposed to do. And so my question is, if they say this is what we're getting the money, like this recent 257 billion is for what? Post-COVID recovery,
Yeah, it's budgetary support. So you see, when it comes like that, you're basically saying that what we're doing is we're improving your liquidity and you have access to money to run the affairs of government in various areas. Of course, those will be listed. So, for example, you look at how to support SMEs. You look at how to support your healthcare system. So some money will be put into the healthcare system. What does the healthcare system need? It needs this, and the other. They'll have listed there. We need to increase the number of healthcare professionals or healthcare workers who are employed. We need to increase the capacity of our health systems, our health facilities to buy oxygen or to access oxygen or to manufacture their own oxygen. We need to support our healthcare workers with PPEs. We need to continue doing this, and the other. We have money that we need to set aside for accessing a vaccine globally. So whenever we get to pay for vaccine, we shall have the money. All those things are listed. Okay? So basically what the IMF is saying is you don't have to go and look for extra cash from other things to do so that you can buy vaccines. Here is money that will be earmarked for purchasing of vaccines. That money will actually be used for purchasing vaccines. Make no mistake, it will be used for purchasing vaccines. Conditions that come with this, IMF has said. So first of all,
don't use our money for elections.
It's clear that you have some parastatals and some state-run agencies that are just...
They're hemorrhaging.
Yes.
And the dogs.
So those ones need to be rationalized. So here, basically, in the wrong circumlocutor's way of saying this thing, what we're basically being told is privatize these things. Privatize some of your parastatals. This happened in the 90s. Let them be
serious business entities.
Sell them off, okay? Come up with a program. So there will be money that will be set aside for this. The question is whether we are actually willing to do this. The president, when he took up office in 2003, he set up a task force led by somebody who was his legal advisor in State House to look at all the parastatals. They came up with a report on what needs to be done to these parastatals. That thing is sitting somewhere in the State House.
Eric, I need you to put this thing in context. It's not just sitting somewhere. It's keeping the company of similar reports that have been written by other task forces.
Involved in a dust gathering exercise.
Yes. It's in the report room.
Yes, where all reports sit and vegetate, okay, and become moldy.
They can be studied.
Sitting there, yes. And should it be required, there's somebody whose job is to dust them and to bring them to the light so that they can be spoken of once again.
Yes.
Before they return to their abode.
Precisely.
I'm sure in this application to the IMF, because they knew that this is what IMF would be looking at, it was quoted substantially. For example, we already have a report that says we do this, and the
Upon
other.
which a task force was
set up. And now what we shall do with this money, X billion shillings shall be used to
And
operationalize
remember,
this report.
We as a country have the means to even show that we have started on the things we spoke of.
Yes.
And if you go to this place, you'll find, and true, we did start.
Oh my God.
We started.
This report, by the way, is not at it gathering dusk. Officially, this report is being implemented.
And if you look, you will tell you there. And indeed, the stages that was we began.
Wait. Where?
I need you to remove your mind from the pictures you saw of the area the Aurora Dam was supposed to be built, just for a second.
Okay? I can't.
Where nature had not been interfered with. I don't want you to go there. I want you to go.
Oh, you guys, please now.
No, there was a fulfillment. Remember,
I can tell you, number one, of those things in that report, we now have one entity that is in charge of our port, rail, and pipeline.
The agency.
Yes, we do. We even have somebody who has been appointed CEO.
Yes. We have in Parliament another one that is talking about making sure that Kenya's Civil Aviation Authority, Kenya Airports Authority, and Kenya Airways are one entity. So the report, we are actually implementing
we're moving
it.
forward.
The thing that we need now is money to make it work.
Yes, and
because
remember,
this is the Shebi, you know, they say mountain. The part that you see above the earth is actually very little.
Yes.
In terms of the rest of the thing.
It's very good.
So now you're saying, because we've scratched the surface.
No.
We've scratched.
Wait, those are
Period.
big.
What do you
Hey,
mean?
the port one.
Do you know how
the port one is huge? We're talking about Kenya Ports Authority, the Kenya Railways, all right, especially the SGR,
Pipeline.
and then the pipeline. All those being managed under one. That is one big thing.
Okay, towards these funds, and then
that's a very big thing. We are harmonizing the operations of this infrastructure.
Pipeline, KPA, the amount of money those two entities generate is phenomenal.
It's true, but you'll never know.
Yeah, so even this loss-making entity called the Kenya Railway,
falling under there now becomes...
Kenya Railway will stop making losses. Because they are also rationalizing. Remember, they're removing people from their land. We were told by now, then the CEO, he was here, told us. I'm pointing to where he was sitting. Okay? And there was a chairman who was sitting where I'm sitting. Okay? They told us categorically what they're doing. And in all honesty, you can see the work has begun.
Yes.
Don't go too much into the details of National Youth Service being involved. The thing is, it is being built.
Done.
We can see. And please don't go into the details of National Youth also going on strike because they had not been paid. That is not important.
That's not consequential.
That is not important.
They've started the work.
Yes. And they're effective. How effective do you know they are? They removed the Nubians from a certain site in Kisumu.
You know what this is like?
Yes.
And
It's
brought
like
down
that
their
movie
mosque.
production.
Yes.
It's like the movie production that has started of a child is actually walking. Then all the cameras on the child is taking the first step. Then everything is shut down. Whether the child has fallen down after taking the first step or continues walking, that is entirely up to you. Shebi, what you've seen is the first step. That is what is important. The rest of these things actually don't matter.
Actually,
cameras have been snapped off.
I may sound like I'm being facetious here, but I actually am not. Because everything I've discussed is not nothing.
It is something.
It is definitely now. If more momentum could be added to it so that we can actually see things working. Remember, one of the agendas that was set and touted as being one of the president's legacies was what you call affordable housing. It's happening.
My thing is,
affordable or not,
let it
that's not the issue. They're houses.
You see, then we on this side, then we want to rationalize this little work that you've done and then applaud it and clap hands. Just do it.
No.
Just do it. Then you want to say, okay, a brick.
So
did you not see? Doing. We cut the ribbon and we've laid 5 bricks. What again do you people want? You want to see the entire building come up? Yes, that's what I'm saying.
The thing,
do the job. But then a small thing is done here, then we behave as if
it isn't small.
And then, look, understand in context what I'm saying. The job that should actually be done compared to what we see and what we are being asked. President Uhuru Kenyatta told us the other day that this Big Four agenda, what did he say? I never said I was going to complete
Foundation.
it. I said I'm putting a foundation in place. But then little things we're looking for them to be applauded, whereby the development agenda and how you are looking at the spread of it, the percentages, and you're saying, what should we actually be able to do? We take one step forward, then we take 3,000 steps back, and then we say, but we've started. Applaud it. We've amalgamated an agency here, and we've brought 3 together. I say, very good. We have a CEO running things around these 3 organizations in tandem, and then we say, fantastic, very good.
Let's take a break, okay? Let's look at Lake. It's called what? Lake
Nyayo.
Lake Nyayo and Lake Bunyala. Okay, what's happening there? How many canoes are stuck there? 24 minutes to 9 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Traffic.
Things at Lake Nyayo are looking pretty heavy, actually, guys. We don't know how deep it is, so please be extremely careful as you approach. Okay? So the footbridges at General Motors and Bellevue are going to be demolished. Please know that. It's actually going to happen in the next few weeks. It's going to happen. So I don't know what's going to happen for human traffic that normally use these footbridges to cross over from one side to the other, in addition to the construction that's going on Mombasa Road. So it looks like it's going to actually be a spectator sport in terms of crossing the road. I don't know what is going to happen.
Well, I thought those ones are being spared, and that's why the expressway has been built very well above. For example, the South B one day. Where is it? Bellevue.
At Bellevue.
Yeah, the Bellevue one looks like,
it's been made part of the construction.
It's there to stay.
Time will tell.
We'll see.
Not much traffic other parts of the city. It's looking pretty good this morning. Again, Kenya Ferry Services is reminding us that only 3 ferries are up for service today because of the holiday. We don't need that many, and there's not much traffic. Remember, don't carry cash or you will not be able to pass through. It's M-Pesa only. Other parts of the country is looking pretty good. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter or text on 40127.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Spice FM. Nyeri. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 20 minutes to 9.
Spice up
So
your
many
life.
comments coming in on social media. We are asking, now that Kenya has received about 1.2 trillion shillings in terms of loans in the past 1 year, can you feel the results? Can you feel the impact of the 1.2 trillion shillings?
Okay, so John Jera seems to know a little bit more. And he says, it's not really 1.2 trillion, but 704 billion. Okay. He says, kindly be accurate, like bank citizens at vigilance. Ironically pumped into pockets since government officials too are puppets. Okay, so he says there's a 500 billion that is not there. Okay. Victor Chi, for me, the way this government is borrowing is not good because they don't make use of this money. This is going to make we common wananchi to suffer because of the economy. I'm still tuned in from Kisumu. Okay. Keep Courier says, well, that's Kenya. Gitonga says, the populace should be consultants and consent given. The loan debt ceiling should be capped. Kenyans, we're in a household where we do a budget plan, then the household heads get the money and spend some of it off plan. And then when the household members ask, they're told, Nyeri, pesa ilikuwa, but ebu tuweke kwa the next plan, we will prioritize. So according to Doris, Dr. Julia says, Mr. President said we should blame the experts for recommending lockdown by extension. Then we should blame experts for all the other failures then, isn't it?
Yeah, even borrowing. Let's just
blame the experts. Sir Charles says the GOK's cyclical borrowing budget is pitiful and lackless in strategy.
So when Kenyans heard that the IMF is giving the country access to some 257 billion shillings for budgetary support, they landed on IMF's page, over the weekend. So the IMF is going to be holding a World Economic Outlook webinar tomorrow. So IMF, the guy who runs the IMF social media, just goes on to the IMF and 1 year into the COVID-19 pandemic, what's the outlook for the global economy? Join the chief economists Gita Gopinath, Petia Queva Brooks and Malhan Nabar for the release of the April 2021 World Economic Outlook. You'd expect that the comments down below that would be like, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'd like, for example, the chief economist to say this and the other. Shock on you. Kenyans are out there reading the comments. It's clear that Kenyans are fed up with the IMF. Please stop. That's what one Kenyan says. Aren't you aware of other Chinese loans that we are carrying and your existing ones that we are still paying in pain? This government will do nothing but stash. How can a leader of government say that we are losing 2 billion a day to corruption and then you're still giving us money? Where is your sincere due diligence? Honestly.
Stop giving us.
Someone else, another Kenyan by their name. We're already burdened by Fuliza and Okash, who, by the way, make our lives a living hell by calling our extended family for a default of less than $10. Stop giving these government loans. We are farmers. We won't starve. Another Kenyan. This money will be used to fund post-election violence in Kenya. People will die. People will be corrupt. Thank you, IMF. Another Kenyan. The money is to give our elected leaders grants to buy cars. We don't need the loan. We're already in debt in the billions. What are you doing to us? I hope this social media rant will have an impact, honestly, because this is too much. The more desperate the country, the better for IMF. If Kenya accepts a loan from IMF, IMF will hope that Kenya defaults and then it can ask for our schools, our hospitals, our labor, our lands, our rivers. IMF can ask for anything it wants. And the president will give them. This is Wandia Njoya. This is what she said. Don't give Kenyans money. We don't need this money. Someone else, you decided to add loan to Kenya COVID billionaires. Your actions in regard to the huge and numerous loans that you are so eagerly extending to our thieving politicians amount to predatory lending, no different from what the Chinese are engaged in, with a keen eye on our national resources upon the imminent defaulting in the repayment of these unnecessary and costly loans. Kenyans expressing their anger and frustration at the IMF for coming to their aid of the country, of their government. It's that mindset that I keep saying. For many Kenyans, government is that thing, Kenya is this thing. All right? So the IMF is extending 250 billion shillings to government. It is that thing that is receiving the money.
Not us. But look at it like this,
Not
Eric.
us.
No, but look at it like this. So couldn't it fuel the argument then that because they see even this money that you've been given, it doesn't come to Kenyans. It doesn't come to Kenyans.
No,
it doesn't come to buffer or to help. You're giving a few people in the government this money. They're doing with it as they wish. Just like this household, they say you're giving to the household heads, and then the people are asking you, okay, you were given this help. Where is it? And then they say, don't worry. We'll sort it out later. We'll prioritize on the next one. This could be the other side of that argument you keep asking, that Kenyans have so separated themselves from government because they don't see the connect between the two. You get all this help, you get all this relief, and then Kenyans are still crying. They're even saying, don't give us, I beg. Don't give us, because we can't see how it's helping
But then nobody here is saying,
anything,
don't give us.
They're saying, don't give the government.
Saying, don't give them.
Don't give them, exactly, because there's a disconnect. Clear disconnect, because what you've received in the past, what it should have, because as the representative of the country, country being everybody, government plus citizens plus everybody, as the representative of all these people, what you have done or not done in the past, we have not seen it. So now we have removed ourselves from there. So don't give them, because once you give them, we won't see it, 1, 2, and then they're still going to come back to us to help, to ask them to help to pay for it. They're going to come back to us. So please, don't put us back in that situation. I'm wondering, then I say to myself, these are huge amounts of money. These are not your run-of-the-mill dollars and cents here. Is it possible that work is actually being done? That these things are happening somewhere in the system.
They're happening
and
right
that
here
Kenyans
in front,
don't know.
right in front of your
It's
eyes.
not being talked about. It's not being communicated. So Kenyans don't feel the impact because they are unaware.
I think
so. Could government do a better job of communicating that this is what we're actually, that this is what we're actually doing with these funds that come in from these agencies?
I think so. And maybe also we as Kenyans need to stop being overly critical of everything that we look at. You know, we look at everything from the other side. Because there is COVID billionaires, yes, and a scandal about how people were winning contracts to import PPEs on behalf of the government. Now we say everything else in government is corruption.
Yes, no.
Because of that one issue at KEMSA, we forget everything else that has happened. We forget everything else that has happened in terms of there are people in this country who received 2,000 bob every week from the government. There are people in this country who received 7,000 or 8,000 shillings, the elderly, from the government. There are people in this country who wore PPEs provided by the government. Well, there were not 7 PPEs a day. It was 1 mask a week, but they received. There are counties in this country that received 5 billion shillings cumulatively to deal with COVID-19. There is somewhere that this money actually went.
So because we're not running doesn't mean we're not taking steps.
We keep blaming the president. Oh, Uhuru Kenyatta, you're giving money to Uhuru, you're giving money to Uhuru. Uhuru did not expend the money, the 5 billion shillings that was sent to the counties. Ask the counties. Uhuru did not distribute the money that was going to the vulnerable. Uhuru was not the one who was doing M-Pesa at entering the data and the details of everybody who has registered for Kazi Mtaani and receiving the money.
You mean it wasn't him?
It wasn't him.
Okay.
There are other people who were supposed to be doing
And yet the money
that.
actually went.
The money actually went. And then there are people who will be complaining that, well, they haven't received, you're giving Uhuru money. Come on. Maybe I think sometimes you just too... And this is me now taking the other side of the coin and looking at it from, is it possible that the 1.2 trillion shillings actually got into the country and has actually done some work? It is highly possible.
That's what I'm saying. Because it's not... If money has actually come in, there's something that was supposed to be done with it. I'd be at pains to really because I can't wrap my head around that you wouldn't actually do anything towards that project that you said it was for in the first place. So could it be that there's a lack of proper communication, that there is a lack of even just sharing that information with everybody else and saying, look here, this is what we were meant to do with these funds that came in, and this is what we have actually done with it. Is it possible that that's what the country is suffering from? That there's not in terms of information. So even if it's not things that you can actually see with your eyes, that there are systems then that are being formed or something is happening in the periphery, then it's actually happening, pushing forward or pushing higher the index of development in Kenya. But because it's not being communicated, the assumption then is that it's not being done.
Two things seem to be clear to me here. One, this complaining, as we call it, or people vocalizing their frustration in the way they know best. I mean, if you're a citizen and something is happening and there's an outlet where you can state what you think, it may read and sound like it's a complaint, but that's how you are able to vent.
Yeah.
Okay? That's one. Secondly, if indeed the government had done absolutely nothing, this country would have closed shop.
And gone home. That's true.
Yes.
It's true. It's true.
That they don't communicate, we have an option here. And I think the option that has been taken from what we see in social media is people are not going to sit back and just let that option of silence be the only option we're dealing with. They're going to speak about it. Because what is certain is that the government seems to have great difficulties in actually laying out plans and telling us about it. Eric brought up a very valid point last week when he said, what was so difficult in the government telling us about this COVID and saying, folks, the plan we have is as follows, all right, over this period of time, meaning the very thing they're doing now, why not tell us in advance so that we know, okay? And then say, but we will monitor the situation and see if there's anything else we need to add on or to do as it evolves. No, we know the vaccine ended up in The go downs, it ended up in
Kitengela.
And then
we saw governors saying they've received the vaccine.
Yes. And then spotted stories. Now, it means the government didn't take control of this narrative as we would hope they would, so that they're the ones telling us. Fellow Kenyans is taking the narrative. You tell us now. So people may get tired, they may not want to hear, but they're being told. The government cannot be said, it cannot be said of them that they are not telling you what is happening. But somehow when it comes to crucial things, they're taking the typical paternal African attitude.
I'm the father
and
I'm the mother,
and you're the
so
children. There are things you don't
see.
need to know. Okay? And if you feel you really need to know, ask your mother.
In Sirikali.
Yes. So,
those countries that you often refer to as mature democracies, in terms of development, even if you look at, Southeast Asia and other tigers, as you would call them, one thing that definitely does happen, even as they are making steps towards development, even as they are making steps to improve infrastructure, whatever it is that they're doing, if you look at a common thread, is that they are telling the entire country at intervals exactly what is going on. Whether it is $10, you are aware of where that, you can trace, and very clearly so, where that $10 went and what it was used for. Nobody will hold you or nobody will put fault on you in any way, shape or form because you have told them, and you can actually see, we had this is what it was meant for, this is what it was spent on. China, I'll give you an example of China. Again, we look at the economic plans that they've had over the last 30 years, over the last 60 years. I think they're they had 12 economic plans in 5-year intervals. I think right now they're on their 10th. You could look at China and think that, right, they're done, right? They're
not.
And they're not done.
They're not.
They're in the I think 9th or 10th right now. It's going to take them another 15 years to actually get where they want to go. But they have been very clear and deliberate in terms of telling their
people, etc.
Of course, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But they've been very clear in telling their people where we want to go. This is where it has come from. Leave alone the fact that there's an element of control that they hold over their people in terms of their democracy and democracy, quote unquote, and in terms of their development, control. But they are very clear about what they're doing and how they're spending this. It doesn't cost a thing. Because once you don't do that, you're not letting people know what is going on. You leave a vacuum, and people are going to fill it with all kinds of speculation and not complaining that you're talking about.
The speculation isn't from a void. It's amply fueled by evidence-based occurrences that can only be attributed to one entity, government.
So do you blame them when they say COVID billionaires happened, and then in the next time when you're not telling them where this money, do you blame them for actually saying, you know what? I smell a rat here. Do you blame them?
No. Absolutely not. You see, the thing is, I think what Eric was bringing in was, okay, beyond complaining, is there something else we can do? And I'm saying, yes, we can. Let's look at this thing realistically and say, folks, there are things that the government actually does. The things they've actually done, we may not think so, we may be angry with them. You see, when we look at the government through the lenses of anger, even the good thing that they have done, we will consider to be bad and say, it's not bad, it's not good. And yet it is actually good. It is actually progress.
I think the government, and as many other governments should do, the thing you do, shout about it. Tell people what you do. It can't be that you do them and then you're sad. This is what we've actually done.
Own your conversation.
Absolutely. Because then it gives you a leg up when things will actually start going south.
Look, do you remember when we had the former deputy governor of Nairobi in the studio? There's something he said that stuck in my mind. The things that they had done as a county with Dr. Evans Kidero, what we call Dr. Evans Kidero's government. The thing that stood out was, indeed, there were wonderful things they had done. And he says the thing that shocked him was when the president stood up and said, this government has done nothing. He said, what is this guy talking about? But indeed, do you know why it had currency? They hadn't bothered to tell us what they had done.
Exactly. What is one of the things that the governor...
didn't know.
What is one of the things that the governor of Machakos does almost sometimes to an annoying degree? Almost, even if you ask him what is the weather in Iceland, he will tell you, you know what we did in Machakos? Like we have built this, we have provided this, we have done this. So you will never be at any doubt as to whether... And if you go to Machakos, you will see That it has actually been done.
And even if you don't see it, he will tell you, open
there.
your eyes wider. In fact, where did you go? No. It wasn't.
Go to this place.
Yes, or come back next week.
It will be there.
You will see it. But there's a lot of evidence that a lot of the things he says he has done. Now, how do we know that Makueni is what it is, and why is it that Makueni for the longest time is the one spot in this country where people go for benchmarking?
There it is now. There. You don't have to tell your own story. If there is indeed a story, your story will be
tell
told.
itself.
It'll tell itself. Makueni, case in point. Okay, well, he called everybody to come and see this new hospital.
No, but case in point indeed.
But then there are other people who come and say, hey, I've gone to Makueni.
Have you seen what's going on here?
Hey, I've been on the ground in Makueni. So even if whatever you're saying is also supported by other third-party endorsement. So our government we can say that IMF is third-party endorsement, but our government is doing things 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's not seeking out third-party endorsement, which is very, very important. Can we have the people, for example, who benefited from Kazi Mtaani come out, and those are the stories of people saying, this is what I'm doing. Yeah. Can we see the people who have received money, who are the vulnerable, receiving 2,000 bob, actually just being able to tell their story? This is, I received. And
because we know people have received that money. Yes. We do know. We know even that Vijana Mtaani, Kazi Mtaani, we know that people received money. Right now there may be a problem, but we know they have received the money.
The only challenge would be, what actual work did they do? Can you see the work? Apart from, in Machakos, again, Machakos, the Kazi Mtaani project was used to make a cobblestone road, like, the old Roman times, road up Moor Hills. You can go there, you can find the road. Deciding, we have hill, we have stones, we're going to do our road this way.
Some of the Kazi Mtaani things, like cleaning the roads and what have you, many of the areas that they're working in, remember, have trees, and trees shed leaves. So it isn't work that is finished. It's daily work.
It was then.
And then also when it rains, okay, we have stormwater drainage and etc., but it also comes with soil, it also comes with debris, it comes with all sorts of things. So it's work that needs to be done on a daily basis. But there's something Eric mentioned that I feel is worth talking about, and that is the counties and the accountability that they owe their citizens. These sham public participation exercise that they hold from time to time, okay, to essentially window dress what it is that they've already determined to do. Our constitution has everything that you have spoken of. What we see happening in, say, the tiger nations of
Asian tigers,
the Far East,
it's hardwired in our laws.
We have it. Haki, we have it. But the greatest hindrance is often not even the government. And it's not even us, in the sense that it is our inability to go beyond waiting for the government to do it, when actually it is us who should actually push it. Remember what Mila was talking about last week? Our caller from Kisumu. Was it Siaya or Kisumu?
Siaya.
I gave that matter thought, and I said, this man has really given a lot of thought to this thing. It makes so much sense, so much sense, because you've devolved power to the point where people cannot say that they have not been given an opportunity to air their views on this matter.
Yeah.
You can't.
And that structure actually is there. And what it just requires is some little tweaking. And
Yes,
it works
it does.
the way Mila is saying.
Yes.
Have village barazas.
Have them.
You want to call it, what was he calling them? The Bunge la Wananchi?
Yes.
Village, it's a village structure. Have a village structure, but now elevate it and make sure that this village structure is what communicates and what talks.
But
that's what is happening in Makueni.
Look at the town halls. Look at the town halls that happen in other democracies that we talk about all the time.
Yep.
It's not just a Friday evening meeting in a hall in a town somewhere, but the results of that are actually taken up to the next level, and it's used to make decisions.
That's true. Keep it right here. In the next hour, we want to open up the conversation. I can see you have been commenting, and we'll sample some of these comments shortly. In the next hour, we also now look at COVID and fighting COVID in this country and what the Britons think we are doing. Good morning. It's 9 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 94.4 Spice FM. Nairobi. Traffic.
Okay, so not much traffic around the city today. It's looking pretty good, guys, except on Mombasa Road, where we know that because of the thinning of the lanes, it's going to take you some time to get out of this one. So it's going to be a hold-up. Even though there's not much on the roads this morning, because of the construction, it's going to take some time. And traffic is going to pile up in some areas, and especially getting towards mid-morning. So let's keep an eye out on that. Apart from that, most parts of the city and country, lower levels of traffic today and not much congestion, which is a good thing. We'll keep an eye on things, however. Help us do that as well. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text on 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way.
No tree produces fruits before producing flowers.
No tree produces fruit before producing flowers.
Mm-hmm.
So flower is beautiful.
It's on its way to being a fruit.
Okay. Beautiful fragrance. So this is it. What we are going through now is flower.
For this
Kenyans need to remember.
For this situation that we're in,
fruit is coming.
I would actually think in terms of no butterfly is a butterfly before becoming a caterpillar. So
we're in caterpillar stage.
So, man, the thing about this country is that you're not really sure whether that caterpillar will eventually become a butterfly.
Die a caterpillar.
You know it's a caterpillar and you can see it. You're figuring, okay, is there likelihood that
how
this
sure are we?
might actually evolve and get to the other stage? That's the wait and see that we're involved in. We know it happens because we've seen other caterpillars evolving and being what they are. And we're saying, can it happen? And I know it can. You know why I know it can? Because Nairobi got new management. And we are seeing what that management is doing in the short time it has been in office. And it's happening in Kenya. So it can be done.
Hiyo mambo ya Nairobi, hiyo. One day, it will be the topic. Anyway, Ndu, we'll look at the social media, what people are saying.
Jose, it seems like you're defending the government on borrowing from the International Monetary Fund, and it should stop. Because this rubbish of Kenya, of loaning to Kenya, iyo pesa italiwa. Okay. Polycarp Manyala says the country will soon be loaned out to other European countries as an overseas territory. Time will tell. Lumi Dennis says IMF should stop loaning Uhuru in the name of Kenya or Kenyans. We can't see tangible results. According to Gitonga Kenyan Jui, there is a practical solution to Kenyans by Kenyans, a popular initiative called ndini.com. Okay. Idhini. Oh, idhini.com. Okay. Ian Kiplimo says the president is misadvised. He's borrowing money like he wants to be remembered as a president who borrowed the most in history of Kenyan leadership. Let us print money. We were 90 have been pushed to the extreme. Richard says, what I know, this 2013 to 2022 government will be remembered, unfortunately, for catastrophic reasons, for devastating reasons. This is a government that has eaten its own people, and to prove that we are a living body without a head, the IMF himself said we lose 2 billion. Without a head. The head himself says we lose 2 billion shillings daily. According to the Bonafide edition of the 1.2 trillion loan, he said 600 billion plus has been stolen by the ruling elite. If the sentiments by Uhuru on the Kikuyu vernacular station is taken into account, again, I think referring to this 2 billion per day.
Right.
And Cliff Mayaka says, on borrowing, rather than just having an arbitrary ceiling, why not have the ceiling as a function of the GDP?
Well, other ways. So I've looked at this ithini.com that, who's this? Getonga Kinyanjuri is talking about. So ithini.com is apparently it's an initiative to amend our constitution by introducing a new law that will require whenever the state wants to adjust upwards the country's debt ceiling, that decision must be ratified through a referendum.
Every time.
So don't go to parliament at the end. Just go and bribe parliamentarians. Bribe everybody.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
No, the spirit of that particular message, I understand. It shouldn't be just an easy thing.
Yeah, to
that
just wake
a
up
parliament
and
that is already captive and one that is already held.
And you come and tell them, hey,
under the grip of the executive.
raise this thing.
Surely.
Yeah, debt ceiling is actually a matter of national importance.
It is a matter of national
and
importance.
everybody will be paying this. So take it to a referendum. Let everybody be aware that this is what the government intends to do. And that also increases the issue.
Does our
accountability.
Does our parliament really understand that history is going to judge them, this particular parliament, extremely harshly because these decisions that they have made? I'm not waiting for history. I'm judging them harshly now.
You see, for all of them, as long as you are doing it collectively, everybody's comfortable.
So they think.
Everybody's
So we did it together now.
So they think.
It's the 11th parliament.
You know,
Everybody is there.
And thank
if
you
we
for
started
mentioning
now, we're going into individuals.
We will remember the 11th parliament.
If you go into individuals and say, Milio Dhiambo was in parliament when this happened.
Yep.
George so-and-so was in parliament. Moses Kuria was... now you start now. Kwani lazima unimulike, my friend. Kwani mimi ndo nilileta hiyo kitu kwa bunge.
Sisi wote tulikuwa.
Me, in fact, if you just check the answer, I stood up on a point of order.
And I actually refused this thing.
You know, all these fellows who keep sending social media messages, there's something they could do. They could mobilize, because I assume many of them fall into the category of people who are referred to as the youth. You have an opportunity in 2022.
True.
Well, we do have an election in 2022. That's the highlight of 2022.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
If you really want this change that you talk about, okay? Why don't you vote in change?
In 2022?
Why don't you vote in this change that you want?
Right.
Yes. You have people who you think can do this, and then you have people who you believe have the energy. Why don't you vote them in? Yes. If you're tired of the status quo, you're tired of the way people do things, you do actually have the ability to change it. But to complain and then you vote in the same people and then you expect different results, we know how that one goes, don't we?
Okay, now let's talk about this katif that we're having between us and our very good friends of the United Kingdom. So there was a letter that was written, a note verbal, by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the FCO, Foreign Commonwealth Office of the United Kingdom, and sent to us, to our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The British High Commission presents its compliments to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Kenya and has the regret, intro. There's no at you, we hope that you guys are well, we hope that the rains have come now finally, or, that your president is in good health. Apana, the British High Commission presents its compliments to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and has the regret to inform the esteemed ministry that Her Majesty's government has taken the decision to add Kenya to its COVID-19 related quarantine list. This difficult decision was taken by the UK ministers on the 31st of March, following a review of the latest scientific evidence pertaining to the risk of community transmission of COVID-19 variants. As the esteemed ministry will be aware, the esteemed ministry, is this one of ours? As the esteemed ministry will be aware, travellers from all countries are required to take COVID-19 tests on day 2 and 8 following their arrival in the UK. Of the average 550 people that travel from Kenya to the UK each week, a significant number are testing positive on day 2. Nearly a third of those testing positive have been carrying the South African variant. So a public announcement will be made by the UK Department for Transport on Friday the 2nd. It was already made. Pursuant to this decision, the only British nationals, Irish nationals, third country nationals with residences rights in the UK will be permitted to travel to the UK. British nationals, Irish nationals, and third country nationals with residence rights in the UK who have departed from or transited Kenya within the 10 days prior to their arrival in the UK will be required to quarantine for 10 days in a government-approved managed quarantine facility. It will continue to be mandatory for all passengers arriving in the UK to take a test on day 2 and day 8 of their arrival. So this one, basically, Kenya was put in that list of Pakistan and the others, where you are on the red list.
Yeah.
Unless you hold a British passport or officially have a residence permit to the UK, don't bother coming. Don't come.
Yes.
Okay? And our people will not come to your country as well. Okay?
So
the direct impact of that, of course, was on our tourism. And
They've banned their people from coming, is that
They've banned their people from coming, and they've banned our people from going.
The banning our people from coming in, I can understand, but banning their people from leaving the country, how are they going to do that?
They're basically saying, well, they were saying their people could come, could leave their country and come. Our guys at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they decided, you know what, hii maneno ni sawa. They also wrote their own note of avowal. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Kenya presents its compliments to the British High Commission in Nairobi and has the honor to refer to the regrettable decision by Her Majesty's government to list Kenya on its COVID-19 related red list contained in the note of avowal of this particular day. The decision by the government of the United Kingdom to red list Kenya and stop all travel from Kenya for those resident in Kenya and those transiting through Kenya to the UK will have deep and far-reaching consequences on the Kenya-UK trade, travel, tourism, security cooperation, among many other sectors. This decision is particularly disturbing in light of the fact that the UK and Kenya enjoy a strong and long-lasting relationship embedded in a strategic partnership that has multiple dimensions, including health, education, security, travel, trade, and people-to-people relations. We went on and to talk about the things that we've done, blah, 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 blah. Ours was long. Ours was not at 1 page. It was 4 pages. Kenya remains of the opinion that in solidarity and in seeking to build back better from this pandemic, the government of the UK would have offered support to Kenya through the provision of vaccines. This is further to Kenya's request that the UK shares vaccines, which Kenya is aware that the UK has in bigger quantities than it's currently using. Basically saying, so first of all, you guys, yeah, we know that you have vaccines, more vaccines that you need. We have been requesting you to give us vaccines. You have refused. Now you're telling us that we have the South African variant, blah, 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 blah. We'd have expected that you support us. However, in the light of the decision by the UK, Kenya has decided to undertake the following measures so that we can reciprocate. As a direct reciprocal response to the measures indicated, all passenger flights, whether commercial or charter, between Kenya and the UK are suspended as of the 9th of April. This suspension will be reviewed within 4 weeks, a month. Cargo flights can come. Moving forward, all passengers coming to Kenya from the UK must have a valid COVID-19 vaccination certificate and a COVID-19 negative PCR test and must self-isolate on arrival for a period of 7 days.
At a government quarantine at their
All
own cost.
UK citizens and residents travelling to Kenya from the UK, irrespective of their route of travel to Kenya, even if you're coming from Sudan, you carry a UK passport, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
All UK citizens and residents, irrespective of their route of travel to Kenya, who don't have a valid vaccination certificate, but who must nonetheless have a valid COVID-19 PCR certificate, shall be subject to 14 days mandatory quarantine on arrival at a government facility at their own cost. These travellers below the age of 18 will only require a certificate of COVID-19 negative. So we are kids, we will be okay. Kenyan citizens only require a certificate of negative PCR tests. This thing of vaccination, wachanayo. All UK government officials and diplomats carrying an official government travel documentation must have a vaccination certificate and a negative PCR test to enter Kenya.
Okay. Sorry. Point of clarification.
Yes.
Before we get into it.
Yes.
So all flights from the UK, passenger and or commercial, except for cargo flights, will not come into the country
From the 9th.
From the 9th, at least for a month.
Yes.
Okay, until further notice.
Yes.
After a month. However, Should you be flying into the country by means of another aircraft and then hold a UK passport is now when we are saying all of these things come into effect, PCR test, testing, quarantine, etc. Because it's possible you come into the country as a UK citizen, but not necessarily on a UK flight.
Not from the UK.
Not from the UK itself.
You can be coming from DRC.
Yes, and you're a UK citizen.
You're a UK citizen landing here. You can be coming from Dubai. You're a UK citizen.
You can be coming from Singapore, but you're coming to Nairobi.
Yes.
But you hold this passport.
If you have this passport,
that's the problem.
Number one, must have a vaccine certificate. Number two, have a negative PCR test. Number three, go to a government facility.
14 days and you will pay.
14-day quarantine and you'll stay there. Number four, which I have not read there, you shall also be subjected to tests on day 2 and day 8 at your own cost. In a spirit of reciprocal.
That really isn't it just?
Yeah, I like it very much.
And we wish to convey a heartfelt.
Some of these decisions that are made at that level, you really have to ask yourself the very simple question.
Yes.
The people who put these things together, do they sit and think? Well, they don't necessarily have to sit, but at least think. Do they think about the consequences of such decisions? Remember when we asked the question regarding Rwanda, I said,
what's the problem?
Where's the problem? Though Rwanda has proven to be just about the most stringent, the most careful of nations in this region.
In the world.
Yet there they are.
Yet there they are on the list.
Why I mentioned region is because we were being targeted.
Even more stringent than they themselves were giving out that.
Not just more stringent, infinitely more stringent.
Yeah. So what's the problem?
So now, that is why I said we are being targeted, because it appears somebody decided that these are the people who have the problem.
These savage Africans.
Yes, they've removed from...
Who's being targeted, City?
Africans. Black Africans.
Savage.
Yes. Because remember, the Chinese were the target for the longest time.
Can I remind you that in this list, the new countries, there's Pakistan, there's Bangladesh, there's Kenya.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you put Pakistan and Bangladesh in the same boat?
As black Africans.
As black Asians.
What did you just hear me say when I started speaking, Eric? Or didn't you hear me clearly?
What are you looking for?
Didn't you hear me the first time when I said it?
Just clarify. Say it again.
Africans are being targeted.
This is clearly coming for... They're clearly coming for us.
Yes,
no.
Rwanda. So the question that we're asking ourselves, though, first of all, do you feel that it was unfair of the UK government to take these measures that they're taking? Okay? To ostensibly protect their citizens from
what exactly?
Variants of COVID-19 coming to the country. 30% of all the passengers who've been arriving and testing positive of COVID-19 and they've emanated from JKIA have the South African variant.
Coming from where?
Coming from JKIA. Flights landing into the UK.
London, right?
Those that test positive of COVID-19 are testing positive with the South African variant. Okay? And they're not saying that 30% of Kenyans. No, 30% of all passengers. Some of them could be British, some of them could be other nationalities. The point is, every flight that's emanating from JKIA, they land there. They are all subjected to testing on day 2 and day 8. Those that test positive, at least 30% of them have the South African variant. Right. So it's clearly showing that because, CT, again, you've said this, we are one of the hubs. We are not the hub. Because we are one of the hubs from this region, we are basically transporting very many people into the UK who have the South African variant. Isn't it right for the UK government to take measures to reduce the number of South African variants that are coming into their country?
You know, by the time a variant has a name and a geographical location and an address, okay? Brazilian variant, South African variant. Surely, there are an ample number of people who emanate from that beautiful Southern African country that actually go to the UK. They are not on this list. When I say Africans are being targeted, it's target. I mean, in all honesty, if you are talking about even Europe as it is, do you remember the time when Europe closed its borders to the UK? Remember?
Yes.
They said, Abana, you guys, you're creating a problem. They have had a problem that we can't even imagine having.
Yes.
But they seem to have gone through it. They seem to be finding ways of coping with it.
Yes.
Right? Right. So now this variant they're referring to as the South African variant. Okay? Remember there's a UK variant, which is equally virulent.
Yes.
Okay? Now, there must be something that they know when they've done the genome sequencing and understand the virus. There's something they must know and they must have understood. This is my view. And it's because they understand that they decided, no, Kenya, we have to include you in this. This is me being positive and saying they have a sound reason for making that decision. It's just that they haven't told us the sound reason. And even if they were to tell us, they must tell us and convince us. Because simply stating it is inadequate. I'll give an example. It's like when people say that there is racism when it comes to employment of people in the UK. And you'll be told, no, it's not true. It's not true at all. Because you'll be shown statistics.
Of the number of people who
and the number of people who, for instance, who are in the healthcare sector, in research, who are doing these things. And I remember listening to a discussion on BBC and somebody brought up the point and said, oh yeah, we understand all this thing. But when you have experts standing with the Prime Minister, okay, to talk about COVID in the country, where is this diversity represented? You only see white people there. You don't see, these are the people you're saying exist, and we know they exist. Said now that is what now forms that narrative of racism. Yes. So in the same way, I am saying, we have countries in that part of the world who are doing really terribly badly when it comes to COVID. Eastern Europe, Akena, Serbia.
Yes.
Hey, they're doing badly. Badly, really, really, really badly. Okay? Italy isn't out of the woods.
Well, neither is the same UK that we're talking about. They're also doing
even their
badly.
neighbors, France.
See, I'm just talking about neighbors. You know, we've already talked about them. So now just talking the neighbors. I started to go far kidogo and then bring it home. So are we being told that our problem is infinitely worse than the ones they have at home and the ones they have in their neighbors? The answer is resoundingly no. So,
you know,
when I say we're being picked on, it is not because I want to simply sound like I'm this moaning fellow who's thinking, oh, you know, we're being picked on.
You know, this is something that we're very good at doing as Kenyans, okay? When you come to arrest CT because he is actually handling stolen goods, okay? He starts telling, but surely, I'm not the only one who found...
Why haven't you arrested Eric?
Yes.
Eric
it is because people were looting a certain supermarket in town. The entire neighborhood was involved in this. So you come for cities like, but why you arrest? Why haven't you got? Me, I only took a fridge. That guy took an entire chiller.
It's okay. Then arrest the guy who took the entire chiller as well. That's what Kenya has also said. Oh, okay. You're doing this to us. Very good.
The point is now, should City really be saying that he's being picked on? We have started.
Eric, do you know where that emanates?
And by the time we are getting to you, City, we have already arrested the other guy who took shoes. We have arrested the other guy who stole
before that,
sweets.
it seemed as if there was some camaraderie between us. I was helping you. I was an informant. I was giving you information about who these other fellows were. I was actually helping you. And then you come and slap this thing on me. Then you want to slap the bracelets on me.
The point
and
is,
it seems as if we were helping one another.
Do you have a fridge in your house that was looted from that supermarket that people are looting?
Actually, if I were to be absolutely honest, there's also a microwave.
That notwithstanding.
But now I should not arrest you.
And then also, there were some green slippers, which I also liked.
Then if you want to go biblical, you who is coming to remove the speck in my eye and the log that resides in yours.
You've gotten to the heart of the matter.
I also saw you.
What Kenyans are actually telling them is, you arrest me for a fridge.
Meanwhile, the
These people who
mansion is in your backyard.
They're taking the whole central bank and putting it in their backyard.
Guys.
No. Stop it.
And this is where we as Kenyans now, this is what we are complaining about.
Yes.
First of all, why can't we just turn our light on our government? If the UK government is testing this number of people who are landing in the UK on day 2 and day 8, how is our testing of the people who arrive at JKIA? Is there any testing of day 2 or day 8 at JKIA? Zero. Now they are starting to introduce it. Have we said that the people who are coming from the UK, flights emanating from the UK, regardless of where you, as long as you originated from the UK at a certain point, we know there's a UK variant in the UK. Have we been testing that?
Eric, our listeners need
to
understand.
Do we know how many people land at JKIA on a daily basis who've come from a flight emanating from the UK, and do we know their status?
We do know.
They present the PCR negative. Do we test? Of those that test positive, do we know how many have the South Africa? There's the UK variant. There's a failure of our own government. The government should be doing what the UK was. The UK was actually doing a very good
It's
thing.
okay now. They started now. No, Allah. They've started now. Now,
No,
thank you very much because you've given us that letter. Now, in fact, we know what we should be doing.
I was-
Thank you very much. You've given us now. Let us start. So we are going to start with you. You who has told us this, you have given us segue into where we should be going. Thank you very much. Now we will start testing and we'll start with you who has shown the light on the path that we should actually be walking. It's okay. It's very good. Now
Eric,
we will start.
We are a very kind and understanding people. We let the UK army come and train here. We will allow them to burn our forests.
And our elephants.
And our elephants.
Yes. We're not kicking too much of a fuss. We're saying accident. All right? Now, they have more COVID issues than we can even imagine, and suddenly we are being banned. Eric, you need to understand that at the airport, we have a health department at the airport.
Yes.
Most who don't know this, they should know. For the longest time before COVID, we had this machine which tests the temperature.
Otherwise known as thermometer.
Yes.
Infrared and the other things. It's something overhead.
Yes.
So you
As
pass.
as you pass, it shows you green or red.
Yeah, but it tests
And
temperature.
imagery. The
Yes.
imaging machine.
It's called imaging.
That one.
Yes, it works. Okay?
Mm.
We have it. All right? Now, because that department exists, the issue of testing is now detail. Okay? Detail. You need to understand. It will happen. But it isn't as though we are completely unprepared. No. If your temperature did a thing, they would put you aside. That's how some people came to the airport and ended up in quarantine.
There are even forms, as long as you're landing at JKI from wherever. If you're landing from Mombasa, from the UK, from Khartoum, from wherever, you
But you
fill
know
out a
these people
form
like doing
while you're on
this
the
kind of
flight. You fill out a form from the flight for contact tracing, number one. Number two, of course, you understand, as long as you're coming on into JKIA from another country, you will present a COVID negative, PCR COVID negative certificate.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Now, all that much we know. Now, these are the countries, they're saying, yes, you shall present that certificate, and then you shall go into quarantine, and then we shall test you. Because it's possible that you have picked, yes, after your COVID test, it's possible that you could have gotten the virus. So we shall test you 2 days after you arrive in the UK to see how you are, and then test you again on day 8 after you arrive in the UK. Hapa sisi kwetu, you just iko na negative, weka hapa. Umejaza hiyo form, weka kwa ile box. Now, you have been behaving this way. Those ones who are behaving in a different way, who have actually noticed that there are very many cases of this COVID, of this particular variant landing from JKIA, let's take measures. They take measures, you are hitting the drums. I don't think Kenyans are justified in hitting the drums.
You think so?
No. I think we are overreacting.
You think so?
We are reacting when people are doing what they're supposed to be doing for their country.
I know. They've shown you how it should be, so you continue with it.
Her Majesty's government, right? Number one focus and attention is Her Majesty's people.
Then why are they banning us?
Because you're not Her Majesty's people. You are Her Majesty's cousins.
So that's what I'm trying to say. They should ban their own people. If they want to focus.
They should focus on
their people.
Start.
Why are they bothering with us? Huh? Eric, you need to get
Look,
the facts
I don't
straight.
think we can. I don't think we can move ourselves away from the flexing of national muscle that's happening here, because they have this habit. It didn't start with COVID either. Sure, the habit did not start with COVID. It didn't.
Which habit?
Look at what they did in Ghana the other day. They said that now flights coming out of Accra shall not land at Heathrow. They shall land at Gatwick, which we understand is a smaller airport, and it's not right in the center of London.
It's somewhere.
Okay, somewhere in the Bundus. They said now you'll be landing there.
It's in Naivasha.
Okay. So Accra said, okay, very good. You too, when you are coming here, you will not you will not land in Accra. You will land in Kokoam, which is, it's not even Bundus. Now, it's BA will now land there.
This guy, we're telling BA to land at the airstrip in like Tok.
Thank
inside
you.
Amboseli
You will not
National
land
Park.
at the international airport. You will land also at the airstrip where there's a body of water and a cow or two grazing. That is where you will land.
It's the airport we're planning to build in Nakuru.
Oh, the one we're trying to build.
So do you see, then after some time, London now said, hold on a minute. This actually might not make sense. Let's backtrack on this decision. They did the same thing in Nigeria. And they said, okay, you know what? at that time, Nigeria Airways will not land at Heathrow. They will also land in Gatwick. So Nigeria said, thank you. You also will not land in Abuja. You will not land in Lagos. You will land in Kano. Now, anybody who disembarks from Kano, you will not be at the center of your business. You will still have to take a 6-hour drive.
Kano is for Kano planes.
You will still...
No. This is a kingdom in Nigeria. It's a bit far from the other two places she mentioned.
So what you will need to do...
Either
you will take another flight...
It's Mombasa... to around Naivasha by road, or even Nakuru.
So you'll either take another flight or you will spend more driving. You want to show us that you know how to do this thing. Let's show you, Omo, we've been trained in the art. So that's what I'm saying. They have a habit of this thing, and it's not just COVID. It's this flexing of of national sovereignty, power, moving around like this. Let's show you that even us. Because if you want to play by comparison, look at COVID and what's happening in the UK. And now. I understand the processes and things like that, but it's okay. You've shown us how it's supposed to be. Okay, so now we're practicing. Thank you very much for showing us what we've been doing, which is wrong. Now we'll do it right. Thank you. And we'll use that example also to all our other processes with other countries that we are dealing with. But if we can work together, we shall work together. Otherwise, you've started it. Omo, now we will finish it.
You see, this habit of trying to show your people that you're actually doing something, and that something is banning and making these... Look... The habit that I believe some of these friendly countries that we have is they acquire this habit over time because they make those rulings, we kick a bit of a fuss, and then life goes on. Okay?
You won't make noise too much.
No, just a little noise. Now, it's intended, as you said correctly, for the people to see that they're doing something. But are they really doing something?
It's intended to protect their people.
But I appreciate that fully and I understand it fully. I understand that completely. I understand it completely. But you see, it's a two-way street. They have more issue with COVID than we do. So if there's a country that should actually prevent them from coming, it's us.
And yet here we are not doing that.
That's what I'm saying. Now they've shown you the way.
So we should actually now be making noise at our government. Wait a minute. You mean the South African variant has been leaving JKIA at such high numbers? So how many South African variants have been entering this country? We should be asking that question. How many UK variants have entered this country just because our government has just been saying, come ye, come and visit thy country? How many? That's the question we should be asking ourselves. Instead of fighting back and, feeling so slighted at, Beberu, Kaboru, Ataona, Chamtemakuni, going back to the days of Jomo Kenyatta, let's look inwards as well. Let's take a break. 28 minutes to 10. And we also open up the phone line 0719-012-600. This UK versus Kenya spot. Should Kenya stand her ground on this particular one? 0719-012-600.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life 24/7 around the world non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Have you seen them? Am I live?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good job.
You. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Everyone in Wasingishu was asking me, what channel is Spice FM?
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
you.
What
a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you, and it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very Swiss temperatures.
The sprinkle continues in certain parts of Nairobi this morning. It'll go to highs of 23 today, 18 at the moment. Rain showers in Nyeri now at 17, highs of 23, lows of 15. 15 is also the low. In Nakuru, cloudy at 19. We'll see highs of 24 in Eldoret. It's mostly cloudy right now at 18 degrees. It's 22 degrees and mostly cloudy in Kisumu. Highs of 28 today, highs of 27 in Kakamega, mostly cloudy at 23. It's raining in Mombasa at 29. Go to highs of 32 today. 32 will also be recorded as the high in Malindi, where it still continues to rain at 29. 22 and raining in Kampala, highs of 25. 27 and raining in Dar es Salaam, highs of 31 and lows of 24. It's sunny in Johannesburg, slowly climbing at 19, going to highs of 26 today. There's a haze over Lagos skies at 28, highs of 33 and lows of 27. It's mostly sunny in Kinshasa at 24, highs of 32 coming back down to lows of 24. I'm looking out east into Beijing, where it's 19 degrees and sunny. That'll be the high for today, coming down to lows of 6. It's cloudy in Paris at 4, highs of 9, and lows now below 0 of -1. Cloudy conditions at 7 in London, highs of just that, and lows of 1. And it's looking like a warm day in in New York. It's 10 degrees and clear right now. It'll go to highs of 19 and lows of 7. Okay, so there's not much traffic around the city today. It's looking pretty good. Now into mid-morning, we'll see how it looks through the day. Mombasa Road is the one to watch out for. With the rain coming down and the construction ongoing, likely to see pockets of traffic along the way, but it shouldn't be anything too neck-breaking. That will save until tomorrow. Okay, talk to us through the day should you need to. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text on 40127.
Spice up your life.
"24 minutes to 10 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the situation room, the spot between Kenya and the UK. Okay, so the UK was the first one to say we are adding Kenya to the red list of countries from whose flights shall not be allowed to come into this country, especially those that are carrying people who are non-British nationals or residents. Okay, and then Kenya reciprocates and says, oh, thank you very much. We send
also
our
pay our
warm regards to you
compliments.
and compliments to your Her Majesty's government. And what we'd like to tell you is that anybody who's holding a British passport or British residency, it doesn't matter whether they're coming from the UK. It doesn't matter whether they're coming from Angola, from Ethiopia.
Tibet.
It doesn't matter.
Even if it's Kismayo.
Yes. You shall go into quarantine. You must be vaccinated. You shall produce your vaccine certificate. It's basically just Kenya, reciprocating. So we are asking, should Kenya stand her ground? And I'm asking, are we justified in this kind of tough reaction? Martha in Nairobi, good morning.
Morning, SpiceFM. How are you all?
Good morning. We're well, thank you.
Happy Easter.
To you too.
Well, happy Easter to you as well. Have you had a restful time?
No, not at all.
Okay, tell us about it.
Why?
It's been 4 days with no nannies. There's no rest there.
It's that time.
Yeah, it's one of those days or one of those weekends. But it's okay.
And how old is the child?
Children. 3
Goodness
and
gracious
6.
me, plural.
Yes, it happens. CT, you know.
It happens.
That's a nice one, Martha. That's a nice one. He has nothing else to ask, I'm sure.
Yes.
No, please. I'm sure you called us to tell us something and forgive my intrusion into your private life. Yes.
Allow me to contribute to the debate.
Go ahead.
I actually agree with Eric on this one. Mm-hmm. Surprisingly, because I always agree with CT. Now, I think, if anything, the Kenyan government stalled.
Mm-hmm.
When the UK variant came into Kenya, why did they sit back and do nothing?
Mm-hmm.
Recall when there were issues with Tanzania, what was the reaction from the Kenyan government? And what was the reaction from the late Pombe?
Mm-hmm.
But now with the UK, all of a sudden you say, oh my goodness, we're surprised. Why are you doing this to us? You're the ones that brought this thing into the country. Now you're punishing us. We are all sovereign states. I agree with Eric. What the UK has done is taken a step to protect their citizens. Nobody can blame them for that. I blame the Kenyan government. However, I pity the British national. Because when the Kenyan government comes to say, you are going to a government facility, you know and I know that even Kenyan citizens could not manage that government facility. So these British nationals are in trouble. That's where they've actually got the British government.
Hapo.
there.
That's it.
That's my contribution.
Thank
Have
you
a
very
lovely
much,
Easter.
Martha. Have a lovely one as well.
Bye-bye.
0719-012-600. Are we justified in the kind of reaction that we've given to this move by the British to add Kenya to the red list? We're not the only ones who are complaining, okay? A member of parliament in the British House of Commons, Naz Shah, is a member of parliament for Bradford West. He has written to the Right Honourable Dominic Raab, who is the Foreign Secretary, says, "Dear Dominic, I am led to believe that Pakistan is about to enter the red list. I have a large Pakistani diaspora within my constituency, which is why I'm writing to simply ask, what scientific data is any decision being led by? Earlier this month, I asked the same question through parliamentary questions and received a holding response suggesting that more time is needed to answer the question. I'm still waiting for an answer. According to a recent available data for the last 7 days, France, Germany and India have substantially higher numbers of infections per 100,000. These figures can be found below. So, look at the number of positive cases per 1,000. Pakistan, 13 per 1,000. Kenya, 17 per 1,000. Bangladesh, 15 per 1,000. India, 24 per 1,000. The UK, 54 per 1,000. Germany, 137 per 1,000. And France, 403 per 1,000. It must also be noted that as of today, the South African variant isn't a concern in Pakistan, whereas this isn't the case, for example, in France and other countries. This begs the question, why hasn't the government extended the red list to France, Germany and India? Given the data, it would be fair for me to conclude the following. Number one, the government doesn't have a coherent strategy in dealing with this red list. Number two, the government isn't serious about protecting the British public as it's applying decisions led by politics and not data. And this is a letter written to Dominic Raab, the Foreign Secretary of the UK, by a member of the UK House of Commons, Naz Shah.
Mm-hmm. I was telling you before, flex of sovereign muscle is what's happening here. Because what you were giving us is that they took the data, isn't it? They took the data of individuals who are arriving in the UK and they found that from a certain number, 30% of that number were coming into the country, having been tested on day 2 and then later on found out to have this
South African variant.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Based on data.
Yes.
Now, look at all this data that's coming in. If it was based on the data, because we're saying that information now fuels decisions, why then are they not using the same information to make other decisions? Or is it something that is coming? I'm telling you, in as much as this is protecting their people, it is very clear that there is a flex of sovereign muscle happening here. It
took them a long time before they added Kenya onto the red list. It was a considered decision. I mean, in Kakamega, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? Morning. Happy Easter.
I'm very fine. Happy Easter to you.
Asante.
Yeah, I would like to contribute.
Go ahead.
And I also would like to agree with you. You know, any government worth its salt protects its citizens. The citizens become the center of any government worth its salt.
Mm-hmm.
So when the UK government, put some restrictions on some countries, it's because they are protecting their citizens. One. Two is because of the bad behavior in those countries. You know, UK have representation in these countries.
Yes.
So when you have a country where the president puts, lockdown and ban on congregation, and the following day he goes on and breaks the same rule that he has put. What do you expect? That's a country that is not serious. So I totally agree with UK. Let us be banned. You know, we are the poor one in the relationship. We should not be that much entitled there. This is not a happy moment. We should get back. We should pull up our socks. We should behave.
We should acknowledge our station in life.
Yes, we are the poor one.
We should know our place, eh?
Yes, exactly. So you find UK is doing extensive vaccination program.
Yeah.
And this South African variant, you know, there's the UK variant which they already contained, and these viruses keep changing them. They keep on mutating and changing their look.
Are you sure they've contained the UK virus or the UK variant?
No. Actually, the UK variant, they have learned to make the vaccine more specific to it because it was there. So when you have so many mutations coming into the country, then you're not sure if your vaccine will actually work against
Jeopardizing your vaccination campaign.
Yeah. So it's actually in the British interest. But on the other hand, these guys colonized almost more than 90% of the world, and for them now avoiding those people they colonized coming to their country is also on the downside. So it's a matter of foreign policy, and I don't think Kenya will have a foreign policy. I think our foreign policy is just copy pasting. So they write us a letter and we reciprocate it. So that's the foreign policy. So we should actually develop a foreign policy.
That's true. Thank you very much. I mean,
I think the fellows at MFA will be a bit upset with that if they hear that they don't have a foreign policy upon which they operate.
They do have a foreign
policy. Have a foreign policy, that's for sure.
They have a policy which no one else seems to know about. Look, when the president took over in 2013, he said, let's rejig our foreign policy and make it Kenya first. Remember? When he was going around the country and saying, our foreign policy shall not be looking at what we are giving, but what we are receiving. It is what's in need for us. Now, when it comes to the letter from Kenya's Foreign Affairs Ministry to the UK, in fact, let me just quote it verbatim so that you don't say it, what are you saying? The Kenyan government was basically saying, look, we have been working and collaborating with the UK, especially Oxford University, in production. We are among the countries that have worked very hard in production of this particular AstraZeneca vaccine. And then the Kenyan government is complaining that we are kindly and humbling and requesting the UK government, because you have more vaccines that you need, so you give us some. And the UK government is saying it's not listening to any of that. So I want to ask about our foreign policy. So let me just first of all read that. As the United Kingdom is intimately aware, considering that it is one of Kenya's key partners in efforts towards mitigating the impact of the pandemic, Kenya has put in place systems to ensure that the disease and its natural mutations are identified, tracked, managed, and treated in the most proficient and determined manner of any country. Kenya has a genomic surveillance program and has been among the first phase in Africa to identify variant strains, including the highly virulent UK and South African variant strains. The government of the UK offers support to our surveillance system through the Wellcome Trust Kemri Kilifi facility. It is imperative to note and not to lose sight of the fact that, here, listen to this diplomatic language. It is imperative not to lose sight of the fact that it was through the Kilifi Research Center that the World Health Organization approved the AstraZeneca vaccine trials that were conducted in collaboration with the Oxford University. These are now the vaccines that are widely used throughout the world, including the UK. Kenya has written through its High Commission in London to seek further clarification of this note that was received in Nairobi, indicating the terms of the red light listing. So it is imperative not to lose sight of the fact that we produced AstraZeneca in Kilifi.
Yes, no.
Actually, we're among the people who actually helped produce
this particular vaccine in Kilifi here with the Oxford University.
Yes.
Now, the guys of the Oxford University have more vaccines than they need. The guys in Kenya have 1 million only so far doses. Here is where I ask about our foreign policy. What is it that we were negotiating when we were receiving this kind of, collaborative and support from the UK in terms of even developing this vaccine? What did we negotiate? Couldn't we just have said, okay, can we secure, block book, 5 million doses, 10 million doses, 30 million doses?
It shouldn't even be a begging stance.
Israel did the same thing.
Yeah,
they negotiated.
We are developing this thing in the country.
It was
trials are taking place in the country.
And this is the thing that I'm saying. It shouldn't be a groveling stance that is taken. Oh, please, please, can we have? No, we're developing this thing at that point when the negotiation is happening. It almost comes from a docile demand, and that's the way it should
now,
be.
Because we are developing, how much are we going to get?
Yeah, we require at least this amount. This is what is going to happen. You came here, we opened our doors, we said, let's do this thing together. Demand it and say, okay, this is what we need. You can't continue treating us like a dog that's lying down. No.
So you see what I'm saying? We should be focusing our attention on our angst at our government. First of all, here you have only received 1 million doses of COVID, and you took long time to get those 1 million doses. We don't even know about the next batch of doses that are going to come of AstraZeneca. This thing was developed, Kilifi. Just down the road, Kilifi. Okay? Here you are
down
begging.
Down the road from Malindi.
Of course, just down the road from here.
Yes.
Just down.
From Mombasa.
It's 4 hours from here to the beach. SGR. Here you are as a government of this republic. You are begging the UK government to give you some of the vaccines that they have that you
developed.
know that they don't need and you developed.
Eric, what is
And here we are now, as guys are blasting the UK government. Why? We should be focusing our attention on this political government of ours.
Well,
hii serikali yetu ilifanya kazi gani?
Eric, where's the issue here? We are being consistent. There's consistency. If you look at the discussions we've had with regards to the contractual understanding we arrive at with organizations or with countries, especially those that lend us money, has this question not been asked as to what exactly did our people negotiate on our behalf? Because it appears that when we talk about, for instance, these contractual issues, say even with Kenya Power,
at that point,
our point of issue and complaint seems to be at that level. So this isn't something that we are encountering for the first time. If you ever go to that Kilifi site, the Kemri site, it is beautifully developed. The Oxford collaboration has been beautiful. They have, the manpower development over the years has been outstanding. All right? So it is a site that can actually do a lot more than even most of us understand or know. But let me stop there and ask the question. In 2019, we were talking about, for instance, putting up $100 million factory for producing ARVs in the country. Okay? There was discussions. And there was funding that was supposedly coming from the EU. There were private funders who were willing to support it. If you're able to do world-class research, because, by the way, research comes to you when you have the capacity. It's not as though they like you. You have the capacity. We also have manufacturing capacity. If we're talking about what the government ought to do, why hasn't the government focus on some of these things that can actually do so that the dependency we keep talking and complaining about is reduced significantly?
We should be able to be manufacturing some of these things locally.
Yes.
We have the why can't we? So right now we are talking about things that are stuck at the port of Mombasa. ARV is stuck at the port of Mombasa, having come from some manufacturing plant somewhere in India. This thing should be here.
They actually should be, and they could have been here. You know, even when COVID started, when you're talking about vaccine development, we have countries that people don't talk about or are known to be way ahead in these things like Senegal and Cameroon. They were doing things that we were, as usual, just talking about.
Rapid testing.
Yes, and they were developing it
locally.
In-house.
Yes, they were.
In-house. Let's go back to the phone lines. Amani.
Happy Easter, Eric.
Happy Easter, Amani.
How are you guys?
Fantastic.
We are very well, thank you. Has your Easter been peaceful?
Wonderful. We can only thank God. In spite of the pandemic, we can still pray, we can still rejoice, we can still shout his praises. What more do we want? Other
good
than
question
having
indeed.
To go to the UK.
Yeah, I don't know, the British annoying us. CT, I hope you remember this because you've been in HIV, blah, blah, blah stuff for many years.
Indeed, my dear, you put it really well. I have been in HIV, blah, blah, blah.
Come to the University of blah, blah, blah.
Yes, and remember
accurate description,
what they did to
thank
us?
you. Yes.
Remember what they did to us, the British? After the clinical research and testing was done here in Kenya, again, another collaboration, they gave us nothing, no recognition, no rewards for all that went forward in terms of the cocktails and stuff that came up in terms of treating HIV. The same thing is happening how many years later? 30 plus years later? We don't negotiate. We give them ourselves as guinea pigs and our brain power, our intellectual power, and we get nothing. So this is not new. Every country in the world has the sacred duty to protect the interests of its citizens, first and foremost, before anybody else's interests. So that's why I liked Trump. He was very clear. You know, America first? And I said, yes, indeed, because even Kenya has to be first. When a politician or a leader is leading, the first in his mind, always, 24/7, should be his people. How will they benefit? If there's no benefit, there's nothing happening there.
Amani, with reference to Trump, shouldn't we be perhaps a little cautious in giving him a wholesale recommendation? I mean, putting America first, excellent plan, excellent.
I said all countries should do the same thing. People come
but not really use Trump as the perfect example in these matters, because there's other decisions that he made that may appear
we're focusing on Trump the same way. She's focusing on Trump the same way you're focusing on Magufuli. Just look at one. This is not at the wholesome. This is on the issue of America first.
Actually, he did put America first, but the repercussions, some of the decisions he made went against the very thing that we're claiming that he was actually trying to propagate. Yes.
Anyway, continue.
Forgive me. That was a sidebar. Please continue.
Everything Trump did was right or correct. I didn't say that. I said the principle of the citizens first of any country stands with or without Trump. So in Kenya, we should always consider the citizens of Kenya. How will Kenyans benefit if we enter into this particular agreement or contract or negotiation with any other country? If there's no benefit to Kenyans, we must never enter into that particular space.
And yet we do.
That's all I'm saying. And yet we do. And it's to our chagrin and to our detriment. We don't gain.
True.
So, I mean, Eric, even on a one-to-one basis, you don't engage with people who are going to put you down, who are going to destroy you. You know, there's nothing there for you at all. Yeah?
Yep.
It should be a mutual beneficial relationship with anything or anybody.
And you approach the negotiating table knowing what is in it for you and what you're going to get out of it. Not just to sit there and say, okay, so what will you give me in return? No.
Absolutely. You're not begging here. You're negotiating.
If you negotiated badly at the point of contact, then you will beg.
No, you didn't negotiate at all. You went there like a
contact, yes. At the point of contact, you just went.
Yeah, just went. Yeah, just they're doing me a favor. You're not doing me a favor.
That's true.
You know, that thinking, I agree with you. The logic behind what you're saying is actually absolutely true. The question that I ask, because this is what comes to mind, why is it that our people who represented these things, why don't they negotiate? Because you're not breaking new ground. Other people do it. Why can't we do it?
Because we go there with a begging bowl. Because, you know, the people are rent seekers.
Yes.
Who don't really care about everything else.
Yes.
But if I can get something out of this, to hell with everybody. Including the country. To hell with the country and its citizens. As long as I benefit, maybe they'll give me something on the side. I need that deal there.
Yeah.
You know, I want to import maybe Mercedes or whatever it is I want to import. Some machinery, they'll give me that deal if I agree to this one.
I'll be the one who's in charge of the local company that is in charge of the blue economy that we are selling out to. Anyway, thank you very much, Amani.
But it is. But happy Easter, guys.
Thank you. Amani.
Take good care. Bye.
Asante sana. Let's look at some of the comments as we come to the conclusion of the show.
All right. Collins Kipkorir says the knee-jerk reaction from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was uncalled for. They should have taken time to critically assess the situation. The unfortunate bit is that we need the UK more than they need us. Come on, let's not talk of tit for tat. We've been told the truth and we need to take action to deal with third wave rather than issue statements with too much English without substance. Okay. Yes.
And all this is being said in English, of course.
Of course. All this is
English is not
with
English,
substance.
the language.
This one is with substance.
Yes.
Dan Colley says Kenya should stop flexing muscle because we all know who in the long run will lose. It's through our negligence that we are in the list, and now we want them to help us by what I ask them from being negligent and allowing us into their territory. What again? Wamechokoza wabaya. Let them ask former US president. We know how to play it, Chini Amaji. They will give up. That's according to Tony Ndusa. When a branch breaks, that is always a navigation route to the monkey colony. That chance, okay. Take a different direction. It's about time that we say enough is enough. It's about time we change the entire system when that time comes. Okay.
Right. Thank you very much for tuning in. So, City, conclusion or with the day's proverb?
No true
tree.
Not true tree.
Actually, you know, it's my handwriting. It's even confusing me. No tree produces fruits before producing flowers.
Where is this particular proverb
Cameroon.
from? It's Cameroonian.
Wait until you hear tomorrow's.
Sawa. Thank you very much for tuning into the Situation Room today. Keep it right here. At 11 o'clock, we have Sugar and Spice coming in. That's Yolanda and DJ Absolute coming in from 11 until 3 o'clock. And Monique will come to take you home on Spice Drive. And then Barbara will be here, the adult in the room, to take you through the night. Overnight, there's this thing called Versus, all right? The Versus TV, produced by some two very good producers. This is Timberlake and Timberland. Yeah, it's Timberland. So the Versus for tonight was two very nice groups of the old days. Earth, Wind and Fire and the Isley Brothers. They were basically just old crooners who were there sitting in a room and just singing some of their old songs. And it was, for 3 hours, and I could just see everybody who was logged on to the platforms. It was live on Instagram and live on other platforms, and it was lovely. I'm going to leave you with just two of those songs from Earth, Wind and Fire and then from the Isley Brothers. Good morning. It's 10 o'clock.